Hello, everybody, and welcome to Elite Encounters. And welcome to what would be our Tuesday night Soul Sever campaign. But unfortunately, due to everything... Well, go ahead.
My bad.
But unfortunately, due to the fact that literally our entire party and campaign of yesterday and today, everyone apparently lives in the Plague Lands, and everyone has come down with some kind of illness. So we're going to do something a little different this evening. So I hope that this will give you some insight or context on what us here at Elite Encounters, how we approach building out ideas or building out character concepts or building out worlds. Just kind of pulls the curtain back just a little bit on this idea of what it looks like when we're world building or character building or driving an idea home to start a campaign off of or things like that. So this is going to feel a little more podcasty, right? A little less entertainment, roll the dice, smash the monster, get that stuff done. I am joined at the table by Nate and Jess, who play Chevy and Avery, which is obviously bad news if we were actually playing, because Avery would be here all by herself.
I also am known for Ezrin. I play a human wizard of 52 years old who looks much older.
A 78-year-old wizard guy. Yeah. Yeah, and you played him immaculately. I don't know how you even got out of bed, because your back was probably all blown out. Yeah. But, so, man, it's been quite the day. But, again, for all of you who are connected to the Elite, if you are under the weather, we love you very much. Get better, and we'll see you next time, right? We do have some in-house, Jenny is kind of hanging out, but she's not feeling well, so we have her just kind of spectating. And of course, we have the always immaculate, never replicatable Jinx back there running everything and making everything, pulling everything together.
Thanks for everything you do, Underwatch.
That's right.
Underwatch.
I will turn this show around.
So, I'll do the obligatory intro, and then we'll get right into it. So, obviously, go check out on YouTube and Twitch. We are live on both those platforms. If you want higher video quality, go check out YouTube. It streams in 4K, which is native quality. If you want to be closer to the action as far as like the chat timing, Twitch is going to be a better platform for you. So you can type into chat, and we'll be closer to the time that we actually said or did these things, and we're more apt to see it. Go check out elite-encounters.com, which is our website, which will give you links to all the social media accounts that we're connected to. And then obviously go check us out on Patreon. We have 4 unique tiers where you'll end up with various physical items ranging from decals, like sticker decals, all the way up to a hoodie, very similar to this one. And any support there obviously goes a long way with helping us create content and keep coming in your direction. Also, we do have a media, a media presence now. Like we're starting to push small content on shorts on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook. If you see any of those while you're out there, we certainly would love it if you liked it and shared it. It definitely helps the mysterious algorithm tell the world that you like what we do, and helps kind of propagate that algorithm to share that content with other people. So, without any further ado, what are we going to do tonight? Well, I had a whole adventure written out, and then Kristen is on her way to have some emergency dental work done. So, Kristen, obviously, feel better with that. That can't even imagine. No, thank you. So tonight we're going to talk very podcasty style, very open and loose, about what it looks like when us here at Elite Encounters, or maybe just in general, when we're going to brainstorm ideas or build characters or build a world or start a campaign or any of these things, where does that idea come from? Where does it start? What does it look like? And then how do you get like anything meaningful to attach to this idea, to build an idea around? Jess, you already look like a deer in headlights, and I completely understand. I've just thrown you into this psycho mess. You're not even sitting in the middle of the table. You're so stressed out.
I tried. Nobody said anything.
I just
Jinx
did.
has yelled at you 3 times already.
Well, Jinx is over there.
He's gonna turn your camera off.
Probably.
Okay, so we're going to start with this general idea, right? So what is Iota-Dree, right? So if we're going to build an idea or a world inside of this Iota-Dree world that has been created by our lovely seer. So Iota-Dree is a brainchild of the seer of Danielle, and it consists of many continents, of which the stories on Elite Encounters, I think we've only taken you to one, right? We've taken you to one continent of, I believe there's, what, 4 or 5, Jenny?
She's counting.
I think there's 3 if you don't count like the far Orient and stuff like that, right? So I think there's like 4, you know, and if Seer's in chat, she can tell me. So she says there's and I don't, you can hear Jenny's terrible voice, but she says there's 3 continents, and then there's 3 islands that are kind of like their own island kind of continent, right? Right. So you kind of have this geographical idea of what the world looks like, and as we're telling you stories here on Elite Encounters with the Soul Sever campaign, we're only really in one of those countries. There's still a whole
Averlon, right?
We're in Averlon, right? So there's still a whole world that exists that is running at the same time that we're running. Which sets this idea of, you know, there are other areas in the world that have heroes doing other things or other stories that could be highlighted or told. And so if we're gonna just kind of pluck into the world of Iota-Dree, you have a giant timeline that exists. And if you could just pick any place that runs parallel, or any timeline that from the beginning of the creation, which is not ever discussed with us here and with Danielle, and as far forward as, you know, campaigns will let you run, right? Oh, do you? But
is it something that's publicly available to everyone else, or is it something secret?
okay.
So well,
yeah.
okay.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. But I don't know it, so it
Yeah.
can't be that publicly available.
yeah.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure if we blatantly asked Seer about it, she'd more than willingly tell
Right.
us. But yeah.
Okay. So, there's just this idea, right? So Iota-Dree wasn't necessarily built around the idea of gods or power and things like that. It was built around the concept of players that sat at a table and told a story, and you just kind of shone light on these heroes, and the world built kind of in a big circle around those heroes. It wasn't something that she sat down and wrote a long, lengthy world and then we jumped into and played in. We were playing, and then she named the world afterwards. So it's kind of a cool idea that you're building a world around the players versus the other way around, right? So, some things I want to talk about. What excites you, Nate, and you, Avery, the most about playing in this kind of world that's built around heroes? This Iota-Dree, this creation of Danielle that highlights these heroic figures, and then the world literally just kind of builds itself out around you. What makes that exciting as a player to play in?
I think drawing from Chevy, you know, I didn't know anything about Iota-Dree coming into this other than like a quick 5-minute blurb.
Right.
And it's like, hey, you're going to be on this Tuesday show weekly, create a character, and here's what the world's about and what the synopsis of the plot is right now. So coming into that and being able to develop my own backstory and say, you know, I'm from a coast town on the eastern coast where everyone has this Cajun-like accent, and the town's called Marathel, and it's now we've got the name of a country called Thalen Reach. So it just like slowly starts building out, and this didn't exist before until I came to the table.
Right.
So it's really interesting to see that, you know, the world exists, but then we're adding to it as we come in, and that's kind of unique from my experience, at least. You know, I'm used to running kind of pre-written modules where like the world exists, this is what exists in the world, and yeah, maybe you can drop like, hey, a mountain exists here because you guys need to go fight a dragon in this mountain, and it has to exist. So there, boom, that exists.
Right.
But as far as like characters adding into building actual locations in the world, that hasn't really existed for me before. So that's pretty exciting.
What do you think, Jess?
I think probably for me is like it's just such a huge concept, just D&D in general,
Sure.
Pathfinder. There's just so much to it that you couldn't even begin to start explaining any of it, and it can be overwhelming. But I find that like Avery can do a lot of things that obviously I can't do, and
Sure.
it's kind of fun to play a role like that, like casting spells. Like that's obviously her favorite type of weapon is
Sure.
her magic, because it would really be cool to be able to just do these things, and even just 3 a day, like that would totally be
You want to give your
definitely used.
co-conspirators scurvy daily, probably.
Certain people.
Certain people, yeah.
So, I think one of the things that I like about the idea of playing in Iododri is very similar to kind of what Nate touched on, is as a character, you have the authority in the world to say, I'm from the Crimson Grove. Never existed beforehand. This is what it looks like. I mean, the guardian trees, the black trees with the red leaves, those were all my creation, stuff that existed. The whole idea of this backstory, like you were saying, this place never existed in the world. If you were to play an Iododri, 8 years ago when she was making it, there was no Crimson Grove, there was no Marathel, there was no High Forest, there was none of these things that exist. And which was interesting because as a player, you kind of have the autonomy and the authority to say, okay, this is my backstory, this is where I'm from, I want to be right here on the map. Boop. And then your little dot appears and your name, kind of pops up. And then from that point, you just have this story that kind of unwinds from that like creation point. The first time I really saw that implemented, it kind of hit me. So I had run a game for Danielle while she was not feeling well, and I took the party to a little town called Oakvale, where they had a very harrowing encounter with some orcs and trying to chase down a mom and a young girl. The town never existed, right? And Oakvale wasn't a thing. I just was like, I need a town, I need a place. Boom, we're going to call it Oakvale, and it's going to be close to Duratham, which is where they were. And so back then, at that point in time, Overwatch was doing his show where he was building maps. So he was building the map of the world. And I was watching him on Twitch while he was doing that. And he was like, oh, hey, last episode, we just went to this little town called Oakvale. And he dropped the point on the map. And typed up Oakvale. And I was like, wow, like it didn't like set into me that that's what I was doing at that point, but because I was just trying to run this little one shot, everyone's kind of encapsulated in that moment. But really what I did was just expand the world. Yep. And so there was this idea that kind of spiderwebbed out of that, where you have like the world starts at whatever place your campaign starts from, and you have just these points that get lit up as you go out and do things that kind of expand the reach. And I was just like, man, that was so cool just to watch him put that little dot on the map and be like, that never existed.
Yeah.
Like that little spot would have just been blank land if I hadn't have just had to run that little one shot and been like, I just got to have a town here.
And the same thing happens not just with locations, but timeline as well.
Sure.
Because you can put in your backstory, like, for example, this wasn't in my backstory, but like, I could have had in there that the town of Marathel had been hit by that wave that had hit Arcluna before, and maybe Danielle or whoever would have drawn on that and said, oh, well, that can go into this, and that those events can coincide and lead toward this library being ruined or whatever. So it's more than just locations. It's events and people, and really, you got to think about it. It's not the entirety of the world running as it is today. It's how it was running 100 years ago or 2,000 years ago on even into the future. From what I understand, Iodidree's been run for 20-ish years now, and 20 plus years now, and it's always been run in the future from where we are today.
Correct.
We're in the past currently. So.
And the funny thing about that is when I and feel free to jump in. I'm not just trying to like when I asked Danielle to run and play, Iodidree on the stream, she was like, man, where do you want to go? Like, what do you want to do? And she was like, well, I want to talk about the Rift, like, the Rift starting. And which was awesome, because in all the other campaigns I've ever played in, the Rift was just a thing that had been in the world. And so immediately I was like, oh, I get to see how this happened and play in this timeline. And so then having a reference point of played in the future, I tied some things together and reached way back, and that's how I kind of came up with my character concept. So my character concept is tied to events in the future, and which is a very unique way to look at a character, because usually you don't do those things. You don't have like a precursor set of events that dictate your character.
Sure.
In the past. But it was a very unique kind of like, oh, I want to do this kind of thing. So I'm going to start with Jess. If you had to redo and not play Avery, what kind of character, right? Like, what kind of character excites you to play? Having just this experience of playing with us for, well, I mean, you've been with us now, what? Over a year and some change, right?
2 years.
Yeah. So having 2 years of experience of what we're doing, and I'm not looking for like the class. Like, give me like a theme. Are you looking for like, would you play a protector or like a rebel or a soldier or like a survivor, or like if you had to just start over and you couldn't play Avery because we're going to do something new, what excites Jess right now, having seen some of these other concepts of characters come to life at the table?
I mean, they all kind of do, but I'd probably be a survivor or something.
So something with a tragic kind of backstory, or some kind of like something that kind of roots you in the world. So
yeah.
Okay. What is it about being a survivor that you like? Because that's kind of what Avery is, right? Like, she's kind of like the survivor of the High Forest, right? I don't want to dig too far into the backstory. I don't want to, spoilers, but Avery seems like a survivor, right? She seems like
she is
someone who always has the will to live.
Yeah, she definitely. That was definitely something difficult that she dealt with, and I relate to her on that level of a lot of things in life.
Oh,
you
you also burn
survive.
homes down?
Yes, I do.
That home explosion on the south side of Indy a few years ago.
What?
Yep.
Whatever, nobody's asking you. What I like most about surviving is the survivor concept is you you gain a lot more experience than other people would. I mean, you can learn about stuff and through books and research and stuff, but nothing is like the actual experience itself, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
once you have it processed and everything in your head, and like you learn things that like most people really can't get a full grasp of understanding of. Like, you can know what it is or whatever, but not know what it feels like.
Sure. It's that like gives your character that lived in feel, like you've done some shit, you've seen some things, right?
Yeah, and it also evokes like really strong empathy.
Yep.
Because she can put herself in people's shoes and see like how they got to that point, or why they're feeling a certain way about something, and like she understands, but like she just connects better with animals than most people.
Sure.
Because she just doesn't really trust people, except for her party, obviously.
Right.
But,
Sometimes.
So how important, like, so I'll ask Nate. So other than Chevy and that the kind of the swashbuckling adventure you have, what other things kind of excite you? 78-year-old wizards, right?
Yeah.
But,
I hadn't really thought about it. I've always been drawn toward more of, I know we're not really talking about classes, but
Sure.
That's where my mind just went. Drawn toward more of a magical type fantasy. So that's where I've always, in video games or tabletop games, I've always played some kind of a sorcerer or wizard or something like that, until Chevy. Actually, I kind of took a step out there, and I've enjoyed it. Yeah. But as far as backstories go, and as far as like where would I go if Chevy didn't exist? Man, it's a tough one. I think I would like to see more of the elf side of things. I haven't seen that yet. I don't know if maybe that was before my time here.
because you're jealous of our elf ears.
Yeah, that's what it is. I want to step over from the hat table to the elf table.
Mm-hmm.
look, our elf table is pretty full. Someone's gonna have to go.
Yeah. Well, if we got rid of one and a cat, maybe we could make room for another.
Or we could just get rid of the actual dead body that is in the middle of the table.
That's actually not to get rid of the dead body, but I think that's a pretty cool concept, actually, is letting the things that Seer does. I don't know if there's things built into Pathbuilder or Pathfinder itself as far as like vampire goes or not, or if that's something that Seer has done. But I think that's a pretty cool concept to have those types of things built into the game to allow your players to experience. Because in like other TTRPGs, they're not as easily done, or there's a lot of homebrew aspects that you have to like build out and flesh out to get to that point where it's like, yeah, vampire is playable and you get these types of things, or werewolf or whatever is playable. So
the vampire is a dedication.
Okay.
And it literally just I took it at second level, and then just kind of fleshed it out. And really all it does is it replaces those vampire traits are feats that I pick up that give me access to those.
Pathfinder, such a great
so
tool
good
set. Like,
so good.
I mean, the whole swashbuckler bard thing is it's not like I'm multi-classing into two different things. It's that the thing allows you to take these things as like ancestry feats or what are they called? The
dedication feats.
Dedication feats, yeah. So kind of lets you dip into more of your, like, what do you also want to role play as? You're not just a swashbuckler. You're not just a fighter elf.
Right.
You have other aspects to your character, right?
Yeah.
So.
And so it's a really cool storytelling mechanic, because with Civil, I have run out of things that I wanted to take for vampire, right? So there's all kinds of things in there. I just didn't want any of the rest of them.
Sure.
And so I kind of let the story that we were developing dictate kind of where I went with my dedication. So at the time I was choosing a new dedication, was the time that he kind of started having this interaction with these deities. And by history, Cyril is very irreverent, and he doesn't believe that elves should worship or venerate a deity that is not an elven god, because in his mind, his worship of a deity should be worth more than that of a human or a smaller lifespan creature, because he lives forever. And it just doesn't equate that same to him.
I mean, you can just say he's racist. That's fine.
He is, to a degree, but it's really only about the fact that, and a lot of that came from, talking about backstory, right? A lot of that came from like this indoctrination that his dad or his father had kind of drilled into his head, when he took all of these elves and started this Crimson Grove, which is a very isolationist elven community, and kind of cultish, right? And so that idea that we shouldn't, as an elf, we shouldn't be venerating any of the other gods but the elven gods, was this idea planted in him by his dad, because his dad was doing other nefarious things, and so he kind of had a warped sense on what was out in the world. But that structure or framework has brought me to where I am, with spoilers from episodes ago, when I'm standing there and I trying to make a deal, and I'm like, clearly he says, I don't know how this shit works, I'm just kind of in the moment experiencing what's going on. So I kind of let that kind of dictate my dedication, because that's what's going on in the story. And Path Builder is phenomenal, and Pathfinder allows that to happen. So as your story develops, your character develops, and you can change kind of what your character is kind of wrapped up into. That's definitely not when I had the plan in my head at the beginning. It wasn't that, for sure, but that's where we are.
Yeah.
And that's the cool part about, I think, what drives this group together and drives the story together, is that not only do we dictate the story, but the story also dictates kind of how the characters grow together or apart, or things like that.
So this is why Cyril's an asshole?
No, that's because he sits next to you every day.
It's Freudian.
Yeah.
Because of his upbringing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Product of my environment.
Yeah. No, what you were saying is very similar to Chevy and how I built him out, because I came in at, I believe it was level 7 or 8 or somewhere around there, and I had him built out with not knowing everyone in the party, this sort of swashbuckler, bard mix, dip into occultism kind of thing. And then as Chevy got more experience with the party and started traveling with you guys more, he started, very similar, was kind of irreverent toward the gods, and then had this background of some kind of occultism with we'll dive into more of that in the coming weeks, so I'm not going to give any spoilers, but as we head toward Morathel, but started believing more in deities, and that's how, like, at level 12 or whatever, I ended up going with that new dedication, the Mortal Herald dedication, as I kind of became more acquainted with Thalmira, which is the sort of good sea goddess. So
yeah, so that was always, so that's interesting. I like when characters or players develop their stuff in game, because it really allows you to kind of hook onto those moments when they change.
Yep.
And it, at least for me, and I mean, I'm, feel free, like, if you guys are watching on the chat, like, what are those moments that kind of cement characters in your mind, right? Like, what are those things, what are those moments that really just drive home the idea that these characters are larger than just an idea, supported by a couple of plastic pointy bits that allow you to do some cool things, right? It's not, and when you think about it, it's generally not those moments that we roll the nat 20s or roll the natural ones. It's always those kind of like gut punch RP moments that kind of pull everybody together or or ripping everything apart that people will lean back on and be like, oh, I connect so hard with that, right? And it goes back to what you're saying, this idea of empathy. How important is it when you're making a character or when you're trying to put a character together for something brand new that you try to connect personally to a fictitious or an imaginary character that you're trying to make? What's that look like for you? Like, because I'm sure it's different for me and for Nate. Like when let's say you were going to build a brand new character for a whole new world, what are you tapping into that you want to project onto the character? Because a lot of Pathfinder or D&D, people will say it's very therapeutic because you can experience some of these things in a controlled, kind of safe environment, right? So you can walk through these emotions and get, grief and anger and all of those things. You can get all those emotions in a controlled environment where it's very like, okay, at 9:30, we're done, right? And you can kind of pack it up and come back next week and pull it back out. So what's that look like for you? She said, "Stop asking me questions."
When I made Avery, I didn't really have anywhere like a starting point on that one. I was just figuring it out, learning it and stuff.
But if you were going to make something brand new now with the experience you have,
I'd probably tap into my my own history, my own memories.
Yeah.
I wouldn't word for word or put an exact memory into it.
Oh, sure.
But I would make some kind of metaphors or something. I'd find a way to kind of incorporate some piece of me into her. I'm sure if I were to make another character, I'd probably think of more creative ways to go about it. Because with Avery, she just tends to be more quiet, just to herself. And she's fine with that. I mean, she was out in the world by herself with Azara for however long, so yeah.
So do you find it when you're watching a show on TV, when you're watching a series like Stranger Things, right? It just came out, right, with the new season. How important is it for you when you're watching those shows? You've seen all the seasons, right? You've seen all the episodes, right?
Yeah.
And you're connected, right?
Very.
Okay. So what is it about those characters that connects you to them?
Well, with Will,
no spoilers.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Is it a spoiler if it's more than 4 years old at this point? We can go back.
The new season
Go back
came
to
out.
season 1 though.
Oh yeah,
I mean
sure, but
right?
yeah.
So.
Well, with Will, I relate to him because I grew up kind of as an outcast kind of kid, just anxious, kept to herself. I related very much with him. I mean, I had friends like that, but we didn't play D&D or anything. We weren't our group like that. As the seasons went on, I watched him go through so much crap, and seeing people that watch the show just dogging on him, and I'm just sitting there there's nothing wrong with. I mean, there is, but he doesn't deserve the hate he gets because he's going through these traumatic experiences, and that's why he's acting the way he's acting, because he's dealing with it. And a lot of people seem to not understand that. They think that he's just a bad actor. He's just acting weird because he's weird, and it's to me it's deeper than that, because I watch these characters, and you get to know these characters in Pathfinder, and if you know their background, their history, and what they grew up around, what their parents were like, or stuff like that, then that's fills the puzzle piece more in to understanding who they are and why they are that way. So I felt for Will He went through a lot of shit, and he has friends and everything, but like, if you pay attention to his face, he still feels pretty alone and isolated, and it's hard. Like, it's really hard. With other characters, like, I relate to them on less extreme levels, less emotional. Just some of them, like, they might have, like, my sense of humor, like making stupid jokes or whatever, or whatever their situation. I might have gone through something similar, but with Will, he became one of my favorites very quickly.
Sure. So, Nate, when when you're looking at a character, so we've not really like dove too heavily into Chevy. I'm super excited that we're heading in the direction to kind of dig into some of this.
Yep.
How do you connect to, like, you got thrown into a shitstorm, man. You got thrown into a mess of people that were already a mess. How difficult is that, like walking into a group that's existing and trying to connect from something that's completely cold on the outside?
Well, 4 out of the 5 of you guys were really great. There was one person with a cat that's just really hard to get along with.
Yeah.
No, I was hired by the enemy. I didn't know she was the enemy.
That's right.
Several was also the enemy at that time. Anyway, yeah. So we're gonna be diving into his backstory soon. Going to Marathel. As far as like how did I create Chevy as someone that I connected to? I was invited into Elite Encounters pretty shortly after I got married to Haley.
Yep.
Very recently married and father of 3. So I kind of dove into that a little bit and made Chevy, instead of the typical tragic backstory of like, oh, my whole town got burned down, or not to pick on you or anything, or literally but kind of similar to the Sunshine route, where I guess hers is a little more extreme, of literally just happy-go-lucky, everything's great in life and I just want to help. More little between there, where it's not super tragic. It's just like, hey, I'm married, I have a kid, I'm a father myself of a 12-year-old girl who is going through her own things, not necessarily being drawn toward the rift and have to be strapped down to the bed, but so that kind of piece resonates with me. And then like Seer pulls on those threads of like, oh, Clara's in trouble, or Kira's helping Clara now, and it's like, oh, that's a relief, like those types of things. So that helps me connect with Chevy specifically. So yeah, that's how I like to go about building my characters. Is I'll find something that I'm going through personally, either in the current time or something that I've gone through in the past, and kind of pick one detail out of that to start with a basis. And that's exactly where Chevy started, was that basis of, he's got a daughter and he's married, and where do I go from there?
Right.
It's a coastal town, and then okay, what happened in this coastal town? Oh, he's a swashbuckler now because he was a sailor. Got it. And yeah, just kind of expands from there. And you sit down and think about it for an hour at a time or whatever, just as you're listening to podcasts or whatever, and you're just like, oh, that's a good idea, let me jot that down. And then you build out from there, and eventually it becomes this full narrative of, you have a person in front of you who's got their own life. Right.
And it goes right back to the very beginning. We talked about, the way we tell stories is we focus on these heroes and we just follow it with like a big light, and wherever we go kind of gets lit up in the world. And that's kind of how the idea starts, right? You got this little nugget of like, oh, I'm married with a kid. And then it's like, okay, I'll follow that for a minute. And where does that take me? Okay, I'm on the coast. Okay, we'll attach that. Oh, I'm a sailor. And then the nugget gets a little bigger, and then this and then that. And
it also, huge nerd, obviously. I watch like a ton of. For those that don't know, I also DM a home game. Mike's involved, Kayla's involved, Kristen's in it as well. So literally half of our group is in my home game. So I watch a lot of D&D content to help myself as a DM learn, like, how do I connect to my players better? How do we connect to the world better? Those types of things. So I draw from that in writing Chevy as well. And when I learned about the background of like where you guys were, like the Rift and everything, that was kind of where I was like, okay, connecting myself to the story immediately, I have to have something that makes me want to be with this group. And that was once I started with Married with a Kid. My kid's in trouble. What's happening? Oh, the Rift makes mages act crazy and are drawn toward it. Great, let's go with that. So immediately I've got this bona fide reaction to, I need to stop this.
Right.
So
yeah. So we've all talked about this idea of the stories that we're kind of actively telling, right? What the stories we're telling with Chevy, the stories we're telling with Several, or with Avery, or with Sunshine, and the rest of the table. If you were starting brand new with a new character, what stories do you not want to tell? Right? What are the things that maybe I'm tired of hearing this kind of story, or I just don't like. What things do you not want to develop in a campaign that you're running? So this isn't asking like, oh, I don't want to do pirate stuff, right? Like, this is kind of like, maybe I'm tired of having the tragic story hang over my head the whole entire time I play, right? So I don't want to tell that story anymore. I want to tell, maybe it's redemption now, maybe it's whatever this is, right? Because, I'll go first, right? So I play a lot of characters that have a lot of like parental trauma. Not that I myself have a lot of parental trauma, but I know it's a very potent topic. So I think when I look at things, if I was going to start a new character or build something for a new campaign, I don't think I would play that into that trauma or into that kind of thing anymore. Not that I don't think it's powerful, and I don't think that I can connect to that, because I can. But I feel like I've explored that. And I feel like it's been at the table. So there's a lot of things that we haven't explored. And so I think that I don't want to play into that, like, parental trauma for me. So, Nate, what do you think? He's like, I just won't strap my kid in the bed.
Yeah. I can't think of anything personally other than the whole like tragic backstory thing. Yeah. I do think that's a bit overplayed. I've played it multiple times. Sure. Play it in multiple video games. Like everything draws into that tragic backstory, or like you've forgotten your backstory, or
everyone you know is dead.
You're Link and you've knocked yourself in the head, and you don't know why you're here 100 years later to save the world, right? So I think that's a bit overplayed. As far as like overarching concepts of the world, the thing that popped into my head as soon as you mentioned it was this whole Civil War concept. I'm playing Dragon Age Veilguard right now.
Sure.
And there's just warring factions all over the place, even though like literally the world is similar to our world, being torn apart because of the Fade and like this whole thing, the Rift here. But in the middle of the Rift being, tearing apart the continent, now they're having a civil war. Like, it's stupid,
right?
Like, not that the concept itself is stupid, not to say the Seer's idea is stupid. It's just that the people that would do that is dumb.
Right.
And, like, obviously there are bigger goals that need to be met before
bigger fish to fry.
Bigger fish to fry.
It's realistic, though.
It's realistic, yes. So, and maybe, I don't know. I just feel like that concept is overplayed in many genres as well. Like, go back to Skyrim. Like, you got warring factions in Skyrim. There's always factions battling each other, and maybe that's just because that's what reality is.
Right.
I just feel that it's overplayed. I don't know.
Probably the tragic backstory. Yeah. Not sure what I would really start with next. I like that. I like to sit and take some thought to try to think of something creative that we haven't really had at the table at all. So that would take some time thinking about. I mean, I could probably try a redemption arc slight and maybe like branch off of that idea.
Which, I mean, there's not something to say that Avery herself couldn't be in a redemptive arc, right? Like I mean, just usually redemption arcs start with tragedy and end with redemption. Like it's just kind of where you are on the swing.
Would you say Several's in a redemption arc? Would you classify it as that?
Goodness.
I kind of see it as that a little bit.
So
redemption
he's
coaster.
on a downward spiral.
He's a redemption coaster. Like some days he's going back up, and then next day he says, "Fuck you, Avery," and he's going back down.
Yeah. Redemption coaster, right? You what? Oh well, spoilers.
When you see a child goblin crying, you do some crazy things.
Yeah. So the thing with Several is he's not come to grips with the reality that he's going to live forever, right? Mm-hmm. His whole mantra is he wants to leave behind a legacy that when he dies, which, I mean, this is just, kind of big picture. When Several dies, he wants people to remember who he is. And like there's, I think I've even talked about this before, but there's a country song called Standing Room Only where I think Tim McGraw sings it. I don't remember, but it talks about someone who lives their whole life with the idea that when he passes away, that at his funeral he would want a room where there's only standing room only, where people would come to celebrate his life and remember who he is. That's all Several wants with his entire existence, is for like people to have this like idea that when he's gone, that he will be missed and people will come to celebrate who he was. The problem for that is I'm going to outlive everyone that he knows. So his legacy is, as he presses forward through time, the idea is he's never going to get that, because as he continues to press forward in time, the people who are directly connected to him are going to pass away, and he's going to be left alone on the other side. And so I don't think he's in a redemption arc. I think he's at the beginning of, he's on the opposite side. He's moving very slowly to a tragic end, right? I think this nugget of like finding religion and finding faith and finding sunshine and finding this connection is like the redemption of the tragedy of his father. But then I have everything that I want, and then slowly it's just kind of taken away from him.
You're Macbeth.
Yes.
Got it.
Exactly. Yeah, so
as far as concepts that I would like to play, or that like draw my interest, worlds that you have an appreciation for the future. I think I would have appreciated to come into this similar to where, like you guys, having that experience of Iodadri, and then seeing that we're going to now play out the history.
Right.
I always have an appreciation for like what Critical Role did with Calamity, and like where you have, this continent, and then the Calamity, some massive event happens that changes the world forever, and then going back and playing through that event, which is basically what we're doing now, except I don't have that foresight of it. So and then similar with like Lord of the Rings, and seeing the Rings of Power on Prime, or whatever. I always like seeing those, like, okay, the characters talk about this in the books or whatever, and then you get to see it later played out in some way. I'm a big fan of those concepts. So
so it's kind of like
So you mentioned the creation. I think
Yeah.
going from here, if we went further back to like some kind of a creation event where some calamity happened
Right.
and then formed the world,
Right.
I think that'd be really cool. But yeah,
yeah. So it's very interesting because I have that perspective, right? Because you were saying that, you know, because I've played in this world long enough, and I know, like I know where it ends up, right? I know in 2,000 plus years or whatever it is, the heroes that exist then, and the stories that are told at that time, and
is several one of them.
he's not. But
Maybe you could change that.
But that's the thing. You know, 8, 10, 15 years ago when we were playing in that, Cyril never existed, right? And because it was, that's why I chose to play who I am, because I wanted this lineage to exist. And so I was like, oh, okay, we're going way back, so here we go. And it just so happened that like the hook matched and like the story kind of matched. And, but yeah, I like the continuity connections when you like, you know, you blow up a clock tower or something, and then years and years and years and years later, you're in a campaign and you go by a city and there's a blown up clock tower, and you're like, ugh. I remember when, you know, in campaign 1, my character blew that clock tower up. That's cool, right? The callbacks and the tie-ins and stuff like that, for sure. And that happens all the time at this table. Jenny and I get a lot of those because we know, but there's a lot of that like, unfortunately, without the history, you just don't connect those things. But I foresee a very big connection that never existed with Chevy that I hope that the seer kind of grabs onto and kind of runs with, which would be very cool. But
We're talking about the statue that
yeah, the statue already
Jenny
exists.
put in her town.
The statue already exists.
Okay.
Why? What's wrong, Fake Queen? You don't like clock towers?
Are you talking from the perspective of Sunshine or perspective of Jenny?
As the perspective of Jenny
Okay.
running a game in your in
I thought you were telling me Sunshine was the reason we got hit by a wave mask. What a way to tie our backstories together.
Surprise. Okay.
I had a town. The town was half on the water and had canals.
Uh-huh.
And Danielle was like, "How do I make this happen in world so I can tie your town that you're doing 300 years past Chevy's time, and with what's going on now? So the wave, Rathel was hit by the wave,
Gotcha.
leaving it with cosmos."
Canals. Okay.
That's rude.
You're rude.
I'm not rude.
Everything ties together. We like Danielle and I like our continuity.
Yeah. So this is an interesting question. And it may be something that I don't know that you can answer without like taking a minute and kind of formulating kind of a clear thought process. But if we were building a campaign together, us three, and we're talking about we've talked about what kind of excites you about playing an Iota Jury, what kind of characters you kind of wanted to look at, what stories you didn't necessarily want to tell. If you were going to drop characters into a campaign at high level, like, so you're talking like 18 to 20, like your character has done the things. What does success look like for the campaign? Not for the characters necessarily, but and by success, is it like when we finish Soul Severed, right? I think success for Soul Severed would be like a world-changing impact has taken place, right? So the rift has happened, and we have stopped the rift from just like ripping the world completely open, right? So success in that campaign is like, yes, we've had this world-altering cataclysmic event, but we've secured the future for the rest of the world because we stopped it from doing whatever it's doing. So that kind of as an example, like if you were going to redo a campaign, what is the success that you like? Is it is it fame for your characters and you're like, oh, I have a town named after me? Or is it just like, I'm driving for peace and you're in a war-torn land, stuff like that? What kind of things interest you as players when you look at big term, like big high-level success? Did you say statues?
That's the thing about Chevy, is that he's such a wholesome person that he does not care about like literally the only reason he's doing this is to save his daughter. And if he was completely 100% assured that Kira could handle it and make sure that she would never run off again and that we could leave it to the rest of the United Souls to handle this, he would stay in Marathel and just stay with his family. Kalar, yeah, sorry, not Kira. You got too many vampires to deal with. I can't keep their names straight.
And they all have K.
It's a K name.
Yeah. Yep. But because he can't be assured of that, he's going to continue with the United Souls until this whole thing is dealt with. So to him, success is securing his future through his children. But ultimately, I think success for a campaign, I think of it more as, instead of success within the world itself, what I drive for is, are the people playing the game having fun, and are they getting out of it what they want?
Right.
And that to me is a successful campaign. So that's bringing it up a level, right?
Sure.
But that's not necessarily about what each character wants or gets, but are the players enjoying themselves? Because you could ultimately not get what you want as a character, right?
Sure.
But it could be still a rewarding experience as a player.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So
What do you think, Jess?
Right now, Avery is actually pretty contented right now because she just lost her entire life and like friends, family, everybody she knew. And like the party's become her own family, so she has what she needs. It's just she's just gotta deal with the grief of it and heal and just continue to grow and learn and everything, and she'll kind of just figure it out from there. I feel like she'll end up just probably doing what she does now, just going around helping people, whether that's locally or if she travels or what. She's pretty good with stealth, so I can definitely see her like doing like odd jobs and whatnot. So yeah, she really just doesn't have like a whole idea of it yet.
Sure. So if we're gonna build something together, right? If we're gonna build an idea of something a story we want to tell, or a platform we want to tell stories on, so what kind of stories interest you? So we're gonna use kind of like a sliding scale, almost like to avoid like, oh, I want the heroic or the grim dark, right? You kind of those polar opposites. So
Yep.
What stories interest you the most? Are they so like the first scale is like hopeful or bleak, right? So what if you're gonna play in a story, right? If you're gonna have a character at a table as a player, what stories kind of grip you the most? Like the hopeful stories or like the bleak stories where, maybe not everything is always rose-colored and stuff like that.
Well, I kind of like the bleak. I I also just really like the anti-hero stories. Like, you're not exactly a bad guy, but you're not the hero either. You're just trying to live your life, and you just want to be left the fuck alone.
So you really do like Cyril.
I'm not even gonna answer that. I was taking that inspiration from Deadpool, but whatever works. I like those because I like, as far as I know, there hasn't been a whole lot of stories based off characters that are kind of just in the middle like that. It's usually like you said, heroic, or going through the redemption part. Yeah, I'd probably try something like in the middle, like that. Just something different.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I've always been more of a hopeful kind of guy. Just looking back at like the games or the games I've played, stories I've read, it's always been like, there may be bleak moments where things don't look like they're gonna pan out, but in the end, it's a heroic fantasy, and the heroes are gonna succeed at the end. So,
right.
I guess there's a little bit of both there, but it's mainly like the heroes are gonna succeed. So, I like that heroic aspect of it.
So I think I've played in a lot of systems or a lot of games where it's just that exactly. Like you may face some things where you're like, ooh, this is kind of spicy. But at the end of the day, when the pages turn, I know that we're coming out ahead and we're gonna end up winning. I think the things that I am gravitating to now are characters or stories or moments where I don't know. And it may not be that it's we're just getting the shit kicked out of us or something, but like I go back to Bloodlords when everyone talks about the cozy cabin or the cabin that tried to kill us, right? We spent the better part of like 3 episodes trying to escape this cabin. It was very real that we were very all going to die in this cabin. And it was a very harrowing experience. And like, props to Patrick for sticking to the guns and just being like, you gotta figure it out. You gotta get out. Because it's very easy as a DM to be like, okay, you're struggling with the thing, it's gonna be whatever, but ultimately you're gonna win and we're gonna move on, so we'll just kind of hand wave it and move on. But
plot armor is nice.
I really like, now that in my experience, I like not having plot armor. The idea of
it gives you a personal stake in the matter, like,
yes.
I can lose this character.
Yes.
It feels like you're almost actually there.
Yes.
Like your life is actually at stake in a way. Like, because if you die, that's it. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
Right.
So little, again, pulling the curtain back, right? When we started this idea of Elite Encounters and I was talking to Danielle about Iota Dree and what we were going to do, I didn't necessarily want a super over the top challenging like campaign, but I told her, I was like, I would expect people to die. Like, I would expect that there to be character deaths or whatever. And that's why ultimately we chose not to do hero points in the game, was because we wanted there to be a real, like, if you make the wrong choices in combat, if you make the wrong choices with your time, you could lose. And I don't know that we've done a very good job realistically portraying that kind of feel, but that was the idea. The premise was behind. I mean, that's why I went with like Elite Encounters, was like, I wanted all of these things to feel like every time that you're fighting, you're not, sometimes it's nice to kick the shit out of something and feel heroic and win. But also, some of the hardest battles are the ones that you talk about you're like, God, I can't believe we pulled through that. Like, those are the things that kind of pull everybody together. But yeah, and it was just this idea of like watching your fellow players at the table. I mean, we've not, knock on our new table here, we've not had a character die with the person at the table. Like, we've not had a person die with, while playing.
We've gotten close.
We've gotten mighty close, right?
Then I would be useless.
Huh?
Then I would be useless.
You would be useless?
Yeah, if I let you guys die.
Well, I mean, that's true.
I mean, when I was asked to be a part of Elite Encounters, I asked what classes were being played. And I got a bunch of fighters, a bard, and a druid, and etc. And I went, so you're telling me these guys don't have a cleric? And the reaction was, yes, and I was hoping that you would play this cleric character as a cleric. Okay, I'll start working on it.
Yep.
That's kind of how I joined Don's Pathfinder game. Somebody was moving away, and a couple of my friends invited me in, and they said, "Hey, we're down a cleric," and I was like, "Sure,
Let's go."
I ended up not being a cleric. I ended up being a sorcerer, but I took some of those things that helped out with that. Similar to like what I do with Chevy here. It's like I try to round out the party, and like not knowing what everyone is, try to be a little bit of a jack of all trades, but then like I can do damage, but then I can also heal, or I can also pick a lock or whatever, and do certain things. So yeah.
So let's talk about.
Hi, Don.
Hey, that's you. What's up, Donald? Let's talk about like violence in games, like in TTRPGs, right? Clearly, we have combats every week, and we go in and we hack monsters down and bad guys and all that good stuff. If you were going to reimagine a campaign with whatever character you're going to play, and we're gonna kind of break this down a little bit, again using the slider method, right? Where the combats or the violence are very cinematic, and you kind of like talk your way through them, or like the world starts leaving scars, like you leave battle and you're wounded and you're carrying your scars with you. You start developing like negatives because you're just the world beating you up, right? The heroic style of fantasy role playing is, man, I could get into combat, I get my ass kicked, I get healed to full hit points,
Go sleep it off, yeah.
and I wake up tomorrow and I could go fight again, right? When the reality is, yeah, you may get back to full hit points, and you may get, it's going to take you 6 months to, heal, or be able to move those appendages like you could before. So what is it in your mind if you're going to look at a campaign? How much, I guess maybe not realism, but how much do you like the combat to kind of carry over between combats, or do you like that like fast reset and here we go again, right?
Yeah, I think the way that we play Pathfinder, and I think it's just the way the Pathfinder's built in general, does a pretty good job about it, where you don't just get everything on a long rest where you can just sleep it off for the night. If we didn't have sunshine here, we would rest, and I think it's recover part of it. It's like our con modifier times your level or something like that. Yeah. So you wouldn't be recovering all of your hit points, and with the way that Chevy is played up front, that wouldn't be a very good thing. I would be out for a week.
Yeah, right.
Like a full 7 days, not a see you next Tuesday kind of week.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that. And there are other systems that do it even more, dark, where like, oh, you received a grievous injury, you no longer have an arm.
Yeah.
You can only use one sword now, or you can't use your shield, right? So there are other systems that are like that. I think those, in my opinion, go too far, in that like I want the heroicness of being able to recover and being able to do the abilities that I've built this character to do.
Right.
but I don't necessarily think that it's kind of back to the whole character death is real kind of thing. Like if that stake isn't there where your character could die or, you know, could be out of combat for the next week or whatever, there's not a stake in the game, right? There's not anything that's like...
You just Leroy Jenkins everything.
Right. Well, it's just what Chevy does anyways,
Right.
but it's because Sunshine's there. So
That's right.
I know she's going to pick me up.
That's right.
That's my
Why
job.
do you think I am the way that I am?
Yeah.
That's my job.
So, what do you think? Like, if you're talking about kind of like how violent combat is, or how lasting scars are, what do you like as Jess? Like, you know, if you watch, you know, Stranger Things and things like that, those guys get the shit kicked out of them. They have scars that run, you know, all the way through. Like, do you like the idea of having this idea of like combats carrying over between combats because of how beat up you get? Or do you like the fast reset where you can just like, oh, we can just heal with some magic and wave it all away and we'll be good and go another day?
I mean, I like what we do now, because obviously we probably wouldn't be this far if we didn't have Sunshine.
Sure.
But I do like the idea of like carrying scars and then like just for like little tiny reasons, like, you know, you got a scar on your face. It's obviously there forever. Like,
Right.
you can't do anything about it, but it's like a reminder, you know, if you see your reflection, like, you know, this is what I'm here for. Like, I'm fighting for this. So like when you start losing faith, you know, I like, you know, the idea of having some scars just as reminders for that. But I do let the fact that we have Sunshine, though, it's extremely helpful. I feel like a lot of our characters probably wouldn't have made it this far if we didn't have her magic and healing.
Well, yeah.
But sometimes, like, I feel like if you look at it from like an outside perspective, if we're constantly being saved by Sunshine, it starts to feel repetitive.
Sure.
Like, you can definitely feel the plot armor there of us, like, never dying. I mean, we have definitely gotten close before, and like, those were good episodes, the moral episodes, like you said, just because of how difficult those combats were. I got down to 2 hit points, and I think at one point I was the dying condition, like at least 1. And it really keeps you attuned to what's going on if you're not sure you're even going to make it out of that, if this is your actual last combat
Right.
as that character. But in terms of like trying to meet our goals, like trying to find all the icons and whatnot, it is really nice having Sunshine, like, just protecting us.
Sure.
Essentially, she does exactly what she's doing. Because with how dangerous the world is, and we've had plenty of experiences of that, obviously, it's nice having that reset every day.
Sure. There's definitely... Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Jenny brought up the moment of her almost not being there, right?
Yeah.
And you know, as a player, or sorry, as a character, Chevy knew that we had to have Sunshine in the party. But as a player, I was also intrigued by the idea of what do we do as a party if Sunshine isn't there? If Charlotte does take Sunshine, we have no real means of healing outside of potions. And
I could take spells, but like I would have to learn them because I'm
Right.
not proficient in it, like Sunshine.
Unfortunately, I had that for a little bit because my deity was killed, and I didn't have spells. I didn't have magic. All I had was my medical skill.
I guess that, yeah, there's the medicine skill too, but that's very limited, right? Because
Unless you were trained to be good at it, right?
Right.
So she can do 2 at a time, which helped a lot. But
yep.
that was all we had. There was no magic.
Yep. It's definitely an intriguing thought.
Yeah, it was going to be an interesting little twist there for sure. So okay. I am following along in chat, so I saw that Laura said scars as encouragement is a cool idea. Yeah, I really liked that idea from Avery. It was super solid. And she also liked that some of the characters were working for the enemy at first. I don't know who that was. Must have been Chevy. Anyway.
Everybody at the table.
Right. Shut up.
I'm a very young wood elf.
Okay.
You worked for her.
So this is an interesting part. Interesting kind of slider here. I know we and Elite Encounters have two very widely different feeling shows. We have Soul Severed on Tuesday and Bloodlords on Monday night, and they feel very different, right? They feel the environment is very different, the show is very different, the theme is very different. Where do you land on humor at the table, right? Do you like, and this is a terrible group to be asking because I think we all kind of
have a dick joke counter. Like, what do you want from us?
But if you're going to redo and we're going to start a campaign, right? And these are things that you want to talk about. Do you want your humor to be rare and sharp? Like, there's times for everyone to laugh and have a good time and have a good dick joke. Or do you want it to be like frequent and everyone's laughing all the time because, everything's a huge dick joke? Now, obviously, there comes some give and take with that, right? One is you'll get less accomplished because you're all distracted talking about whatever else. Or the other is you'll get more accomplished, but you are less, engaging is not the right word, but you're less like loosey-goosey, you're less kind of breaking that fourth wall, right?
Less engaged with the story by breaking that.
Yeah, you'd be more engaged with the story if it was less humor because you're just kind of like crunching, like kind of how we are on Bloodlords. Not to say we don't have our occasional dick joke, but there are times, clearly we have a dick joke, dick joke counter. There are times on Tuesday night where you'll go 45 minutes and it's been nothing but a string of dick jokes. Where's that balance, right? Where's that for you guys? Where do you stand on that spectrum? Because clearly, some of us can play in both realities. What do you like? And what would you like if you were starting something new? What would you like there to be like kind of that scale?
I said it before and I'll say it again. I think the success of the campaign is ultimately, are your players having fun?
Sure.
If everyone at the table's laughing and having a good time, I don't care what we're doing. I don't care if I ever pick up a die to roll it. If everybody's laughing and having a good time, then that's what I'm there for, right? I'm there to have a good time with friends. That said, running a show like Elite Encounters, there's another specific like sub goal involved here in that we not only have to be entertaining to ourselves and have a good time or else it's not successful, but we're also trying to be entertaining to a group of people that are watching this content. So, and we're not all comedians, right? So I think to some degree, I think we do a good job about it on Tuesdays at least, and you're much more dedicated on Mondays, admittedly, but I think we do a pretty good job about continuing on, and we'll have a quip of like, oh, there's the dick joke, and then 30 seconds later we're rolling into the next person's turn in combat or whatever. Like, it doesn't last that long usually. So I think we're pretty good about it and staying on task. And there's not like a bunch of side conversations happening where we're not invested in the campaign. It's just like that one quick thing, everyone gets a laugh, and then we move on. Right. So I think I would lean more towards the staying on task and like focusing on the story with a little bit of humor and not just constant humor, because ultimately, like, we're all here to play a game, but like I said, ultimately, if everyone's having fun, I don't really care what they're doing. So
I like like where we're at right now. I think how we are is perfect. It's not over the top humor. Like, we stay on task for the most part. I mean, we have our days, but our humor is pretty quick, like you said. And they usually just pop up whenever the opportunity represents itself. Like,
Just like every good
yeah,
Every good dick joke pops up right when you need it to.
like that. Yeah, exactly. So like half the time, someone in the chat would probably be expecting one of us to say something if something comes out sounding anything close to that. So I don't know. I feel like our show, like, I feel like the heart of it is our humor. At least part of it. Like, it's our humor helps bond us, like, as our characters and as people outside of our characters. So I think having some, like, and the way we do it, I think is great. Like, I love how we roll on with it, like, still going forward and taking actions and being able to be serious and then flipping back to being to making jokes. Like, I think we're pretty well rehearsed in when making jokes is fine, and then when, like, it needs to be like a serious tone. Like when the seer is going into a serious, like, kind of descriptive monologue about something, like some tragedy.
You gotta read the room, right?
Well, and she made the comment last episode, right? Because we were all talking and doing whatever, and then she made the comment, "Oh man, this is the quietest you guys have been in a long time." And I noticed that, especially when I was kind of re-listening and going through the stuff that.
It was when Sunshine was, or we were like getting ready to go after Sunshine, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was eerily quiet on the rewatch, but it was like we were just like talking and joking about whatever, and then
Boom.
We pulled the switch, and then everyone was bam dead, like we were on it. Okay, what's going on? Tell me the story. What's happening? Let's figure this shit out. Like, we were all locked in. And that's a huge prop for us to be able to take, we could be talking about dick jokes or whatever the funny thing in the moment, and then something happens and we'd all just kind of like flip the switch, lock in, and we're like, okay, let's go.
Yep.
And I think it helps having, like, our DM, like, the way she tells the story and, like, when to pause and when to not. She's very good at doing that and knowing how to get everyone's attention, and then letting, like, a few moments pass of, like, individual, like, conversation or whatever. Like, she's really good at knowing when to cut in, and then that helps too. And you're the same as well when you're DMing, like, right when to stop and, like, wait, and, like, it's a nice balance. Like, if, like, we work the way we work, like, like the players and then, like, the DM, like, it all just fits nicely, like the humor, the seriousness, all of it. Like, we know how to time it. Like,
it's very good. So, let's talk about some kind of like system stuff, right? Like, so, like Pathfinder 2nd edition, right? When you're in a campaign and you're playing, do you like milestone advancements? So, like, Bloodlords is a very milestone advancement. When you get to the end of book 2, you should be X level, right? Or do you like narrative-based enhancements where, like, maybe as the characters do different things, you may end up with characters that are kind of like staggered in level because they've done more of their story or less of their story, right? Or do you like XP, where it's just like, okay, you've killed the monster, you get 300 XP, divvy it up and put it on your sheet, right? Now, just for transparency, I think the only one that we've ever done is milestones at the table. But there is something to be said for the other systems that exist, right? So I'd like to kind of talk about that, because sometimes I think that it's very easy, especially if you pick up a module, that just tells you by the end of chapter 7 they need to be level 7, or by the end of book 2 they should be chapter 12, level 8, and that just feels very much like, okay, these are very hard milestones I need to make sure the characters are at, so they don't go into book 3 and get their ass kicked. So what of those 3, what do you like about them and what do you not like about them?
As a DM and a player, big fan of Milestone.
Yeah.
Big fan of Milestone. The downsides to narrative advancement and XP advancement are both in that it creates an unbalance in the party, and that if you have narrative advancement, you have one person who's, you're going to focus on that one person for a while. They're going to get further ahead, and then maybe you'll bounce over to another person. But then when you go to design those encounters, it becomes very difficult to design encounters when, let's say, 4 of your party members are at level 5 and another 1 or 2 are at level 6 or 7. A level or 2 at mid to low levels is very important. So it's hard as a DM to design those types of encounters and make them engaging for the entire group when 2 people are going to outshine the rest.
Sure.
XP leads to that to some degree, just because of at least how I understand XP gathering in Pathfinder and both D&D 5e are, and that, like, if you get the last hit on the thing, you get that XP. So you've killed the dragon, you get the XP for that dragon. Now you've gained this much more XP, or you can go out and grind goblins and gain levels that way.
And I feel like that also with XP, it punishes people who maybe can't make a session.
Yes.
Right. So, because the idea is you get the XP for the things you participate in, and XP is just not hand waved.
Right.
Which is what Milestone kind of was made to get around that idea where, everyone kind of levels together when you get to the end of a story element.
And
right?
that makes it feel more like, I don't want to say a job, but it makes it feel more like a, it's less of you just doing something as a hobby for fun, and it becomes more of a dedication or requirement, which I think to me detracts from the hobby aspect.
Yeah, the fun
like,
side of it.
if I don't show up this time because I have a dentist appointment, I'm going to miss out on that XP, and then next time I'm going to be underleveled.
Right.
The next time's not going to be as fun for you because you had to miss.
Right.
Like, to me, it's detracting from that.
Sure.
Milestone has its own problems, but I think it makes up for it in the fact that it keeps everything balanced. It makes it a lot easier for the DM to balance encounters around. It's easy to say, at this point in the story, you've killed Charlotte, you're going to be level 13 now.
Right.
Whatever, yeah, it's easy to put those things down and say, this is when you, as a group, have done this thing, you're going to be this level.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of that. Every game I've ran has been Milestone. So
Yeah, I like the milestone aspect as well. I mean, I like how the seer does it.
She does milestones.
It's not like, I like how
she does trauma.
Well, that's true.
trauma stones.
At the end of all of your trauma, you gain next level. Okay, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because the other methods, like, considering this is my first game and only game I've worked on, I guess not only game, but like I don't know any other method than this one.
Yep.
So those are new to me, just hearing about them now. I mean, I'm intrigued to try them, but I feel like me being as used to this one as I am, and like the fact that we don't know when we're gonna level up, like obviously probably after some event, but in everybody's level, we don't have that problem of some being like level 6 and some being level 5. Like I enjoy that aspect of it because it just makes it easier. But it doesn't. The other ones do intrigue me just because I've never played that style before.
Yeah. So Don in the chat says he's an assassin, not an accountant. So when he runs games, you don't need to be having a CPA or whatever to do your bookkeeping.
Sure. I think it also depends on like what you as a group want to be focused on, right? So like, we're here to tell a story, right?
Sure.
So milestone makes sense for us.
Yeah.
We're telling a group cooperative story. What XP drives you toward is to seek out missions that give you XP so that you can level up, because that's what the chemicals in our brain are like. Hey, we want to level up. We want to level up. That's like we want to roll dice and level up. That's like all we want to do, right?
Yeah.
So if we know we're going to level up by advancing the story, then we're going to role play and advance the story.
Yep.
If we're going to level up by killing a dragon because it gives us a bunch of XP, then we're going to go find a dragon and kill it, right? Or if I'm going to level up because I'm going to go to Morathel and explore my own backstory, then that's what we would do. So I think each one has its own setting for its own table. If your own table has its own goals, like maybe our home game, because you all are murder hobos and you just want to kill things, fine, maybe I should make it XP. But it's milestone because it's easier for me. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think you're right, Laura. So she said that it makes it feel more cooperative to have the milestones. Yeah, because I think it goes right back to what you're saying. Like, everyone is kind of pressing to the same point, right? Either we're pushing the story forward to get to the milestone, or we're killing enough bad guys to get to the XP total that we need, or I as a character am doing enough of my story to get to the XP. It very linearly changes the narrative from a character to the campaign, the way I connect. If I'm pressing the story, or if we're killing bad guys together, it's very kind of wide. If it's, I have to go through so much of my story to get my XP, it's very linear and very narrow, where it's just like, I'm going to get XP and you guys are not, even though you still had to sit through my tragic backstory. But I do say that I do love that the way that we run with milestones, that sometimes we've just done enough of the story that we progress in level, and it's not always after the big bad guy or a big thing you've killed, because I think it sets the stage for where you're going, right? And sometimes I know in some planning of some stuff for myself, that I find it interesting when DMs choose to give you those milestone levels, and how that breaks down, right? You want to make sure they've done enough from the previous time to feel like they've warranted the level, but you also don't necessarily want to wait until every time they fight a big bad guy to give them that, moment. So that's interesting. Like, I know we've had some where we just like, oh, surprise, you woke up today and welcome to level 7. Oh, okay, that feels good,
Okay to do is sleep.
Yeah. Why can't we do this more often? Ah! Okay. So let's talk about making characters in a world, and having characters that are connected, like walking in the door, versus characters that like are unconnected, and what the difference that looks like when you're telling stories together, right? So there's a hurricane going on upstairs, apparently. Geez, oh Pete. So Chevy was connected to Cyril walking in the story because he was working with Charlotte when Cyril was there, and so Nate's character was connected to mine when he walked in the door. Now, that doesn't mean like we're brothers or we're whatever.
Chevron.
Chevron. But it does mean that his character from the first interaction was connected. How important is that kind of stuff to you as a player, and how does that impact how you role play or press through story? Because sometimes you get this idea of like shared narratives versus like solo narrative, right? What's that look like as you're trying to like put a character together for something that's maybe brand new? Do you like take that into consideration?
I want to hear from Avery first in this one.
I mean, I can go. I have.
I don't know how you got introduced into, not Soul Severed, but the United Souls. How did Avery get introduced in the United Souls? I've heard that you worked for Charlotte at one point, but
That wasn't working. That was being threatened with a voice in my head.
oh,
That's also threatening several, but
is that a common problem for you? Threatening voice in your head.
whatever. No, I'm not dealing with this. What was the question again? You made me forget.
So he was asking you how you got introduced to United Souls from Avery.
That was kind of a spin-off of
Yeah, but I was asking, how important is it to you as a player to when you bring a character into something to have a connection to someone, or can you just walk into a cold party and be like,
Yep.
cool, here I am.
So how was Avery connected up front? Like,
She wasn't.
okay.
She kind of ran into him. She heard commotion, and she kind of observed the scene, and then like she kind of read like based off what was going on. You know, like these guys, the vampire, the cleric, like whoever was in the party at the time, like they're obviously not the bad guys here because they were fighting orcs. And that was my first episode. And for that storyline though is memorable, not just because it was my first, but it was first with combat with the United Souls, but it was also a tragic ending to that. And like usually we're good about succeeding with like our smaller goals, like not like the bigger goals of the icons, but like occasionally helping like a baker here and there or saving somebody's life from something else. We're usually good about not letting somebody die, or having no choice but to watch them die. So like that what happened in that episode was pretty memorable.
Good introduction to Pathfinder for you.
Well, that and for Avery herself, because she just immediately gets that impression of these people are obviously good. I mean, she obviously takes a long time to fully trust them, but because that's just how she is. It's not anybody in particular's fault, but I just like the way I was introduced. It was kind of different and not connected to anybody, all by myself. Like, I feel like it would have been easier if I had another character connected to me. Like, it would be easier, but the way I came in, since it was new for me as well as her, like, I definitely felt myself in her shoes at that time, like, kind of just observing what everybody at the table was doing as their characters, and then I'm just observing this situation as a new player and a new character. So I like that. I like that that was my first time. For another game, would I possibly like try to be connected to another character? Like if we were to work something like that out, yeah, I feel like that would probably help, and then we could like brainstorm our background. Like, you know, it would kind of make things a little bit easier because you got not just you thinking about it.
Right.
But for Avery herself, it was just perfect for her to just come in and just out of nowhere. Nobody knows who she is or anything.
I like that. Yeah, for me personally, I think it makes a lot more sense it made sense for Chevy as a character to have that, because otherwise there wouldn't have been that driver to split from Charlotte, right?
Right.
And I don't see how Chevy could have been introduced any other way at this point, other than maybe a similar kind of thing where, hey, he's just going along blindly trying to fight a god, and then now, oh, this group's fighting, trying to do the same thing, you know? So it definitely helps to have that kind of connection to connect to the larger group, and to connect to the larger goal, right? So that's definitely how I prefer to do things, at least.
So I've I've walked into, so in this campaign I walked in largely unconnected, but I did have a loose acquaintance with Jenny's previous character, and But I've played a set of brothers. In the future campaigns, we played a set of brothers. Don was one brother and I was the other. And it was great. The idea of like, you always have someone to kind of bounce off of. You always have someone that's tied to you. Yeah, you'll have, they kind of have shared similar backgrounds. You can talk about those things, develop that stuff. It always just leaves the door open, because anything that I'm not thinking about, kind of like she's saying, there's two people thinking about it. Anything that I may miss or not think about, they may catch or they may think about. Because what's important to me may not be what's important to them when we're talking about progressing story and stuff like that.
And you're just improvising together, just bouncing off of each other. Like, yeah, I can see how that would kind of work well.
It makes it easier if you know somebody.
Sure.
Like, Sunshine came in having a brother or sister relationship with one of the characters.
And now you're basically married.
Banjo music.
That was a bad joke. I said now you're basically married.
Yeah, he wasn't the brother.
I know. We've had that joke last time too.
Okay, this is a big one, and I like this question because obviously I think I have an interesting outtake, especially if you've played in any games that I run. Difficulty in your game, right? We kind of touched a little bit about like the heroic side. Like, I always kind of want to pull through at the end, right? So your scale is obviously heroic, and you're kind of just always expected to win, to like unfair, right? So your little sliding scale. What interests you as a player? If you were going to play in a campaign, and it may not be any different than what we talked about before. Like, you like the heroic side of things, or you like the little more gritty side of things. But when it comes to like the challenges specifically, not just necessarily combats, but it could be traps and hazards and all that kind of stuff too. Do you like it when things really challenge you as a player, or do you like it where you're like, oh, that's kind of more of a nuisance, annoying, but we're still gonna be fine?
I'm definitely on the grittier side on that one. I think part of what connects you to your character is knowing that that character can be lost. And though I do like the heroic aspect of the story and knowing that, the rift will be solved, I like knowing that Chevy might not be the one that solves it. Chevy might die in this, right? And that's okay. If that's where his story ends, and that's fine. It's just that if you go into combat knowing that you're going to come out the other side completely unscathed, or at least fine, because your healer's always going to be there for you, then that kind of takes some of the drama and some of the anxiety out of the moment for me. So back to my home game, every single combat that I design is a deadly encounter, and you guys can die, and I actively try to kill you every single time. You just so happen to have made it this far. We have had a character death that was then later revived through some rituals and things, but I didn't make it easy for that to happen.
Sure.
So that to me is, I think, more rewarding in my mind, in that you've earned
being alive
by coming out the other side, right? So that's where I like my combats to be, is push me to the brink of death, push me to death,
right?
If that's where it goes.
Yeah, I like that too. It definitely feels like really taking chances, like when you're that low on hit points, or like you got multiple different conditions going on, like you're bleeding and you're dazed and you can't see or whatever. Like it makes you think, oh my god, my character's going to die, I don't know what I'm gonna do. You're in that I don't know phase, because like, what can you do at that point? Like, yeah, you could still try to like cast spells or, you know, use your weapons, but like with the penalties being taken because, you know, you're bleeding and or you're blinded or whatever, depending on what it is, it definitely does make it challenging, and I do like that. I like that I have to sit here and think, okay, what would be the least harmful way to attack the enemy without hurting the party? Because there are some spells that is just a range, so like whoever's in the vicinity of it can get hurt. And then there's spells completely just directed at the target enemy and nobody in general, like it doesn't matter. So like I have to get creative about how I move and what I do to try not to accidentally shoot Chevy or something, or whatever, you know, or hit him with the rays of whatever spell. Especially if you're like down on hit points too. Like if I accidentally was the reason that you died, that would be like an extremely wild thing to happen. Like I would never hear the end of it.
Oh no.
Hey, remember that time you killed Chevy?
So, also, so this is an interesting question that I just kind of stumbled upon while we were talking about this. In these kind of games, when do you get to the point where you're looking at your HP going down, going down, right? When do you get to the point where you feel like, maybe I should probably rethink what I'm doing? And I know that, all jokes aside, like you kind of play Chevy very much like I'm just fine, right?
The answer to Chevy is
never. Right.
Chevy is Captain America.
Yeah.
And he can do this all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as a player, do you like the idea? Because I've seen Jess get into moments where she looks at her HP and she's like, "Fuck." And then she's like, "Okay, now I got to run and hide, or I got to find a way to get away from whatever is going on." And it's interesting because I play very much like you do, where it's like I have a sunshine in my pocket and
Pocket full of sunshine.
yeah. And
don't take my sunshine away.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm gonna go ham because that's my job. My job is to stand up here and take a beating and make sure that these things don't get to the people that are squishy.
Which happens to be the sunshine.
Correct. So, are we suspending this idea of disbelief or belief that like my hit point total really doesn't matter because I'm going to stand there until I fall, right? So am I really in that character's headset, like mindset, or am I playing the game because I know I have a cleric and I know that I'm going to be healed, or I know whatever, like would Cyril really actually continue to stand there and get the shit kicked out of him if he's overwhelmed? Like Mike's going to make him because he knows that Sunshine's there.
Right.
That's an interesting, like I kind of pulled that off of because I've watched Jess be like, ooh, I gotta go, and like run and get out of dodge.
It's about what your character is trying to do as well. Like I think you and I play very similarly in that we're there to protect Avery and Sunshine and our goblin friend Ernela, who are supposed to be in the back shooting things from range, right?
Yeah.
We're there to be that sponge so that they're not getting hurt.
Right.
And the trust goes both ways. They're supposed to also, be giving our enemies blinded conditions and making it easier for us to hit them and heal us when we go down, right? So I don't think of it as much of am I playing this as a player breaking the fourth wall and thinking like my cleric's going to heal me. I think of it as the character has trust in his party and knows that, yes, if I go down, someone's going to be there to get me back up. And I think I built Chevy even to with that Moral Herald dedication where he can pick himself back up when he hits 0 hit points. Instead of taking the dying condition, he immediately casts a 2nd level heal on himself, or a 6th level heal, 2-action version of it on himself as a free action, basically, and pops back up without the need for Sunshine to intervene.
Right.
So that is sort of like my once I go down the one time, now I've got in my mind, okay, if I go down again, I'm taking resources away from the rest of the party, and maybe that's not good. Or kind of keeping track of how many spells Sunshine's used. Maybe she doesn't have enough heal for me. Maybe I do need to back up.
Yeah.
We haven't quite hit that point yet, but I anticipate, eventually it would happen. Had Charlotte stuck around and fought us for a while, maybe that would have happened.
Right.
Because I was getting a little low in hit points. I hadn't used my own heal yet, but yeah, that can definitely happen. Again, yeah, like I said, I play Chevy like he's very stupid. He has an intelligence of 0, I'm pretty sure, plus 0 intelligence. So yeah, I do play him very like, I'm gonna swing and hit this thing because I'm protecting my party, and I don't care what happens to me.
So Laura just made a good point. She said she would play more like Avery because my death could also put my party in danger. So that's a very good point. Like at one point in time, early in the campaign, Cyril was making a point to Lenny, and he yelled at him and pulled his shirt up and showed him a bunch of scars on his body, and was like pointing at them and telling them where all the scars came from, what battle, what, and all these things. And he was like kind of reinforcing this point that I stand up in front and protect you so you can stand in the back and do whatever it is that you need to get done. I'm not, it kind of got to the point where he was not like ungrateful, but it was like we were walking in a place where it was kind of like a gut check moment where I had to be like, hey, I'm standing up here taking shots, on the daily for your ass. Like, fix your shit, and it was a kind of a real cool little moment because I remember telling the seer, I was like, I'm pointing at these scars and just literally talking and telling him where they came from, where we were, what battle we were in, and even the ones where I was like, and this is where Sunshine shot me, and those kind of things.
Notice I don't use my crossbow anymore.
Yeah. But it goes right back to the idea that scars are motivation, right? So you get this worldly lived-in feel where you're like, oh, okay, maybe magic healing doesn't take all the scars away. Maybe it just closes up the wound and that kind of thing. I don't know. In my mind, being undead, I'm a little different, that the wounds just kind of close and they look that the wound is still there. It doesn't go back to normal, right? So that's kind of what I leaned on when I was going into that moment. But so there's some interesting things. If you were going to take something in Iota Dree, and I know you guys are fairly new to the world, but let's just open up your mind and kind of think, big picture here. What is something in the world of Iota Dree that just shouldn't exist anymore? So,
Charlotte.
Cyril's attitude.
Oh, dang. Here we go.
I didn't say Cyril, I said his attitude.
Cyril's bitch ass.
Cyril's bitch ass.
You said it, not me.
Okay. Damn. All right. So these things are like things that you would use as like a pillar of a campaign. So like if you said like
King of Orvast.
the what? Oh, the King of Orvast.
Orvast, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like the King of Orvast. If we said that guy shouldn't be the king anymore, and you would build a campaign around this idea of overthrowing the king of Orvast, right? Sorry. And these are things that as you go through and you explore the world, you get bigger and bigger pictures that are open up. So like for me, I can think of things and be like, oh, well, I don't want that to exist, right? But the King of Orvast would be an interesting whole like offshoot campaign, because I don't know that the United Souls are going to hang around long enough in that area to oust the king and do that kind of stuff. But the grassroots rebellion that Chevy is stoking the fire could uprise into, heroes that will overthrow the King of Orvast, which could be a cool little, like,
sub-campaign,
calamity campaign where you have the downfall of Orvast. And
I know what we're doing the next time.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
Next time people are sick,
one shot is King of Orvast.
Yeah.
Killing King.
All right. Noted.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how this works, is you just find things that we're doing and you don't think that we'll have time to like wrap up or finish. And as a player, you kind of put your stamp of authority on and be like, I really want to see whatever or how this goes, right? And it goes back to what you're talking about, the continuity of like, oh, what happens 15 years in the future or 300 years in the future? Does the King of Orvast get overthrown? Does someone else get put in place? How does this change the whole landscape of Averlon?
So it's like bookmarking that spot. Like
Yeah.
we'll eventually come back to it if we do a side campaign.
Right.
But for now, that's a good little idea for a side story.
Sure. And those are those things that as you run through, as we run through these, this campaign, I think of all the towns that we've left, and I have a bookmark in Cyril's book of stuff like I want to go back and go to the Crimson Grove. I've not been there since I killed my father, and that's been however long ago. But there's just a lot of things that we've just left kind of open-ended, and you don't see. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate that. You don't see the resolution because we have other things we're doing, and we're doing bigger and badder things. So like for a character, for you, for Chevy or for Avery or for Nate or Jess, what kind of things interest you, like when you are looking at things that spin off of your campaigns or things that you spin off of your ideas that you can gravitate to and say, oh, I want to that's a great idea. How do you come to those moments where you're like, oh, yep, we're going to walk down this lane sometime? What's that look like?
It's like thinking through where Chevy's been with the United Souls so far, like the things that stick out to me of things that we've left sort of not necessarily untouched, but left in a place where like we would
Unresolved.
Yeah, unresolved, I guess is a good word for it. The Ebon Accord.
Yes.
Fuck those guys.
Yes.
The town with the, what was it, the Purple Pillow Inn, or what was it called?
The Velvet Valve.
Velvet Valve, yeah,
Yep.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
The dwarf city that we first met you at.
Yeah, so that dwarf city, yeah, the whole collapse there.
I mean, are we just never going to talk about the time we switched bodies, or is that a whole other storyline that we just
Yeah, I
don't want
wasn't
to
even
talk
there
about?
for that. That was an
was
Incanati's Day,
Incanati's
wasn't it? Yeah.
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 Last
The
year? Was that
storyline-
last year or 2 years ago?
Last year.
Last year.
The storyline was you were supposed to take something away from it,
Yeah.
and whatever that was, you were supposed to remember because it's going to affect your character.
Drama.
You swapped with Esteban, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
I swapped with P-Rock.
I didn't have that moment as several. So, I did with P-Rock, though.
B-Rock
Oh
versus
boy.
Sunshine.
You have to get to experience Incanati's Day.
And then Dromathan,
As character.
or is it Dromathan or Dorathan? I get the two.
Dromathan is the big city with
yeah,
the
floating
floating
islands. We kind
islands.
of left that
Yeah.
as like, oh, sorry, Sunshine fucked up the portal too many times. Gotta move on.
Yeah.
We got the ones.
We got the one. Yep.
Yep.
And then now, Orvast and all of its issues, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where Chevy's been so far. So those are the big hitters, I think, so far. And then obviously we've had characters come and go, right? So like Bruna came and stayed for a while and then like dipped out, and it's like she left a note that we found.
Yeah.
Where'd she go?
Right.
Yeah. I'm assuming we're gonna find more of Charlotte's layers, but like that whole Velvet Valve situation was a little odd. We're just waking up in a jail cell. And then that reminded me too, your Nayla could remember Esteban now. She could remember Esteban then as well, but we thought it was because she was across from him in the cell. Maybe she was seeing him daily without like triggering on it. Maybe she's always had this ability to remember him.
And she just can't
And
remember
she-
her own name.
And she just can't remember her own name. She's got all these, yeah.
It's like the curse is reversed in her head.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. That's an interesting little, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I mean, your god did, or I guess not your god, but
That's right.
did say that she had nothing to do with it, but she would remember.
Right.
So maybe that's always been a thing.
Maybe. Interesting. So what kind of open-ended things are left on Avery's docket that you want to see us kind of touch on?
I really haven't thought about it. I mean, I'd still like to know what's going on with Barnabas and his town, and like freeing the men out of being drafted into the military. That storyline does interest me, and I like, obviously they're going to war now, so like can't save them right now, but find a way to get it to stop. Like, I'd like to see like how long it takes, and like when the like rebellion begins or whatever happens. Like, I just want to see where that goes.
Right. That's very cool.
And then I think the last thing on Chevy's docket was going back to Von Emberley and getting her riled up.
Yes. You just want the apples,
Just
right?
getting the spiced apples, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So obviously, with Soul Severed, we've kind of touched on this like medieval high fantasy, right? Yeah, everything kind of feels very medieval high fantasy. Are there other cultures or nationalities or other like areas of the world, right? So a lot of Iota Tree is still very unexplored and very unpopulated as far as like the spotlight. What kind of things interest you as players as far as ideas to pull off of for where we may go next with other stories, as far as maybe a campaign 2 or a campaign 3 or bigger picture stories? What other places? And I know you don't know the places of Iota Tree, but again, Morathel didn't exist until you put your stamp on it, right? The High Forest didn't exist until you said that this is where I'm from. So what kind of things as a player would you like to see us dig into?
Sunshine mentioned little island nations. I kind of had the idea of maybe like a Lost campaign, like maybe crash land on an island, and then it's like you got to survive on this island and then find your way off of it to get back home or whatever.
That'd
Like
be
a
fun.
Castaway kind of
Yeah.
situation. I think that'd be fun.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Very less nomadic.
heroic.
Yeah, less nomadic,
Yeah.
like traveling around doing stuff.
Just
More like
fight to survive.
fight. Yeah,
Because
fight
it
to
doesn't
live.
turn yellow jackets, and we don't.
Hey, I'm not taking it off the table.
Well, it can get pretty dark. I mean, as long as we don't start chanting in circles, then yeah, that would.
Well,
that'd be.
in Iota Tree, if you pray to a forest god, you might get an answer.
You know what? That's different. Okay, that is completely different. You shut the fuck up. You just don't understand it.
Pray hard enough, you'll get an answer. Be careful who you pray to and
Yeah.
who you invoke.
Careful who you sacrifice your friend's funeral pyre to.
There we go. We need
Where
that on a
accept
shirt.
trinkets from.
I don't know what you're talking about. So, what kind of stuff do you like? What would you like to see us do in another campaign that Jess would participate in? What kind of things interest you as a player? We have like lost survival, crash landed on a island. You got to kind of live your way through it and make your way through it, fight your way off.
Are we just talking strictly just stuff we're making up? Or
Yeah, it can be anything you want. You can go as far as you could be like, man, I'm really interested in like Arabian feel, like deserts and like that kind of stuff. Like whatever you want to spin off of.
Well, I've seen that Stranger Things has their own campaign, and I feel like that would be fun. You know,
Something.
Time travel to the 80s.
Oh, like a time travel kind of feel.
Yeah, like you're a completely different decade, and it's a completely different setting because it's more modern or modern-like than, you know, how we dress and like we travel by wagon and stuff. But also, like, I just love the storyline of it and like fighting demogorgons and like, you know, Vecna. Like, I feel like we could probably take it in a whole new direction than where they did, or who knows, but like I'd be interested to try it.
The upside down and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like especially the upside down. Like, I mean, yeah, we talk about dimensions and stuff and everything, like but like with the upside down, like when you travel over there, it's like so completely like just exact opposite. It's different atmosphere, like it's like your vision is different, like I don't know, I feel like it would just be a cool universe to build a campaign around.
Sure. So obviously we can't steal you can't steal the Stranger Things universe.
No, but like you can bait.
But you can absolutely use it as
it.
inspiration. So you're thinking like, man, that's like cosmic horror, but based in reality, right?
Yep.
So reality based in cosmic horror.
So you
and
want to
stuff
play
like
Call of Cthulhu?
Yeah, kind of. But more. See, my thing with Call of Cthulhu is I always walk into those games knowing I'm just gonna die.
Yeah.
And so it's
definitely.
like I'm definitely not connected to the characters that I build in Call of Cthulhu. But they do have like campaign settings, and I find that very intriguing. I'm like, how? Like I could go into next week's episode and roll terrible for my sanity checks, and then I'm dead. And then how does this turn into a campaign? But
you could take the horror feel of Call of Cthulhu and then apply it to Pathfinder, where it's a little more of a heroic setting, but maybe in a modern setting. Make it into a Stranger Things themed.
So they were talking last night that Hellfinder, which is that gothic horror kind of feel, Pathfinder adaptation, which could be right up your alley, like right with what we're kind of talking about for sure. I do like those kind of things too. Like I like as a player and as a game master, I like the freedom to be like, okay, you're fighting whatever I want, like out of my own imagination kind of creature. And I'm not kind of beholden to, well, the Tyrannosaurus on page 37 says, you know.
I do kind of like, though, that, like, there are certain presets, like how I think Bloodlords is set up. Like, that's how I think the Stranger Things is set up. You know, it's a guide. Like,
sure.
Like,
It's a pre-written.
I'm not saying we should try to, like, make a campaign out of it, but, like, to actually play that, I feel like would be fun.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, like, you want to come up with, like, stuff like that and stuff, or, like, you'd also want to, like, follow the book, too, so, like, I feel like I would have, like, trouble, like, trying to stay balanced on that, because, like, I feel like certain things I would want to, like, either ignore or edit or whatever, like, certain rules.
So yeah, definitely when you run a pre-written campaign, that's how I've ran them at least. I've done 3 at this point. I always take it and rewrite it how I would like the story to be. Like certain things don't make sense to me, or I rewrite it in a way that it makes sense and flows better for the characters.
But it's faster and easier than like coming up with everything on your own.
Definitely, yeah. So you use it as a guide to kind of like say, this is my springboard. I'm going to get the campaign started. And like, for example, for our home game, I ran Baldur's Gate: Descent into Avernus, which is levels 1 through 12 and 5e. But we're at level 18 now, Mike. 19, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. So after level 12, I had nothing to go off of. I just homebrewed it and picked and chose adventures from like different sources, and like, we're gonna tie a story together here after they get out of hell and figure out like, what do we do after level 12, and how do we keep these characters invested in saving the world, and what calamities come after level 12. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, so I think for me, I'm really interested in, I would like to see a very either post-apocalyptic kind of feel where like something terrible has happened and you're like scavenging to survive, or something where like the environment is very harsh, like kind of like Dune, right? Where like you go out in the sun, you get baked, right? Or you're out in the frigid cold and you know, frostpunk kind of style. I think those intrigue me because it's like, okay, at any moment the game could be over, right? Like we could be out doing whatever and we don't make it back to the wall to get on the inside, and okay, you're all frozen.
A little more strategy involved there with like how you choose what adventures to undertake, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And what allows you that it kind of takes your nucleus of the game and pulls it real close, and then it's like you have to do something or get something heroic that allows you to kind of start shifting that point because there's something that's holding you together, like holding you here.
Yep.
And I like that mentality of just like, okay, like we've lived through this thing, and if we're going to try to do something that's not this, we have to be better than whatever's going on out here. And it, it's just interesting.
Attack on Titan kind of vibe there.
Right, and along with that, like, or any kind of dystopian society, like with like super strict rules like that, like saying you cannot leave like this border, like that Divergent series. It starts off with everybody behind this wall, and
very
I think it's like a
Hunger Games.
big circle or whatever it is. I think it was centered around Chicago, and I found it so intriguing because like it's like you notice that there's problems with your society, so like how do you escape that mold without either being noticed or dying? I think that would be intriguing to like not just that, but like any kind of society like that to deal with that, like to try to work with your party on getting goals met. Like it would definitely make it challenging to constantly having to deal with like guards or police or whoever that is blocking us or making it difficult. Like,
and it's always a different a different mentality when you like we stomped into Orvast and you have guards that are causing shit, right? But at the end of the day, they're never going to see me again. Like, I don't care, right? It's different when you're in a Hunger Games situation or a Divergent where you're like, this guard that I run into, I see him every day. And if I start some shit today, he's going to remember it tomorrow. And he's going to hold that like mentality of like, oh, this little guy, fuck him, right?
Especially if it's a routine, like you walk by him every day at the same time.
Thinking like Housemaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale, yeah.
Or like if he's like going to work or something and he has to pass by that guy, like, that would cause issues if he starts picking a fight with him and knowing the next day I'm gonna walk by this guy again.
and then there's obviously the other issues where it's like, oh, I could just off this guy, but then if I off the guy, then he doesn't show up to work.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh, you know, it's all those dynamics of like that you don't get on campaigns where you do a lot of like coming and going, because it's the superhero mentality. I run in and save the day. I don't care that I burned half your village to the ground.
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's the effects of what happens with that.
Yep. The collateral damage.
Yeah,
Yep.
like the legal stuff. Like if you were to do a society like that, like you get caught killing somebody, and it's like, oh well, the police are now after you. That's a whole new challenge.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
like you got to go into hiding and find ways to not be seen in public, or have to move at night. Like whatever your strategy is.
Yeah, so those things are very cool. Like, it sounds very, I don't know, like, almost cyberpunk, almost like a little bit of Vampire the Masquerade kind of feel, like very dark, like the lights turned down, like, you know what I mean? And those are interesting. I love those campaigns where it's like, at the end of the day, when you shut the book and you're done, you have to ask yourself if was I the hero in this, or was I just like, I don't know what happened. Like, I like when I don't know, like at the end, if I'm the hero in the story or if I'm not the hero in the story. But that's just me, right?
I also like when there's perspectives, like to other people you're the bad guy, because they know certain things that you don't.
Right.
And on the other end, you're just trying to do something for either a good thing, or you're trying to do a good thing, but like to them they don't know who you are, they don't know what your intentions are, and whatever you're doing, it looks like it's not good. So
I'm very much in the camp of every good bad guy is a good guy trying to do a good thing the wrong way. It's like, I can't use Charlotte as an example, but like there's a lot of a lot of the campaigns that I run, the BBEG is normally just like someone who's trying to fix a wrong in the world, but has taken a wrong step along the way and has their mind twisted in some way to thinking that their way is the only way to go about it, and they've got to do this thing, and it may suck, like Thanos, for example. You've got to wipe out half the population to save the other half, but like in their mind, that's the only way about it.
Right.
So
Very anti-hero, like, yeah.
Yeah, like Thanos, Laura. Good job. Right there.
Yeah. I like those characters as well, where you're very conflicted on, like, okay, yeah, I'm doing my ultimate end goal is what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, it's like, you have people that are like, did you even stop and think if there was another way to do this? And then you know, no, I didn't, because this is how I do it, you know?
and also there are moments where you're put on the spot to do something.
Yeah.
You don't have time to think about it.
Sure.
Yep.
Like, do you think Chevy had, 800 years to think about whether or not he was going to work with Charlotte when she offered him a solution? No, of course not. He was like, oh, let's go.
And
You know?
several certainly didn't plan to become a vampire at some point in his adult life,
Correct.
but just kind of becomes part of the story
That's right.
itself.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting tale we're weaving for sure. Like the narrative is something that started very, very small and very linear, and now is like this big giant web of stuff we've
Right.
put across the continent. But I'm super excited. I think we that Orvast overthrow thing. Like, I think that's like right up our alley.
Yeah.
For sure. So. You okay back there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to be better.
Yeah, I understand. So I think as a player, when you sit down and you are going to build a campaign and a group and a story together, when do you find it important to start letting characters into your backstory, like know what's going on, right? I find this is a very interesting question because on Monday night I'm playing Lysander, and he has a very intricate, very long backstory, and we're just now getting to the part where we're starting to kind of like dabble in this backstory. I think there's like 5 books, maybe 6 books of this whole like of the Bloodlords campaign, right? So it's a long running campaign. It takes us from 1 to 20. But for you as a player, do you like when the DM directs your narrative out of your story, or do you like it when you kind of weave it into your own conversations with other characters, or do you like, on your own time, I'm going to text Jess and be like, hey, next episode, I'm going to talk about this. Like, do you want to have that moment with my character and blah, 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 blah. Like, do you set that kind of stuff up, or do you, as a player, do you like having that kind of stuff set up? What's that look like?
I think for me, it's a little bit of all what you just said there. Like, when I first joined the group, obviously there was, at least from Chevy's perspective, there was probably a bit of mistrust there coming from working with Charlotte and thinking that, oh, this is the way I've got to go about things, and then learning that this group, Charlotte had, done something to Sivril that didn't seem right, and this group obviously has a very deep connection with Sivril. It kind of seemed like, not appropriate for me to just be like, oh, hey, I'm Chevy, I'm a dad, I got, all this stuff. So it's like, drop in the bits of knowledge as they come up. It's like you brought up that you had a daughter, and it's like, I have a daughter, and then we have that connection, and then you just drop in these bits of things to find common ground between everybody. I also like that Danielle has taken, I don't know if the campaign, if she has like some overarching idea of where the campaign's going, ahead of time, how much note taking she does as a DM or planning she does, but I like that she's taken us to Arkluna, which is, obviously a few days travel from Morathel, and we're going to explore some of Chevy's backstory that I don't know that would have ever come out just in conversation. Mm-hmm. She's also provided me with a bit of, I won't necessarily call it backstory, but a bit of things that she's seeded into Morathel as a town that would have had impact on Chevy's life. And like, I then take that and I text her back. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, hey, this could be why Chevy went out and did what he did and how he ended up to Charlotte. Like, we bounce those kind of things off of each other. So I like being able to build backstory, not just, in a silo as it's my own backstory, but more as like a cooperative kind of thing, as like, bits of Chevy's backstory didn't exist until Danielle and I started texting about like, here's some of this knowledge dropped on you, and it's like, yeah, this really makes sense. Bounce back and forth.
Right.
Yeah.
So how important is it for you, Jess, when you're eventually gonna come to the moment where we're gonna walk down Avery's story? How important is it that you get to kind of share those moments kind of narratively yourself, or do you want Danielle to kind of like narrate the things for you, or do you want to like reach out and connect to people and slowly kind of plant those seeds yourself?
I kind of like all of them, like a little bit of everything, because Avery has a hard time fully trusting people or trusting them at all. So like, if she says anything personal, it's like little bits here and there over a length of time. Mm-hmm. It's her memories are pretty private to her, just because the whole forest thing was a whole traumatic thing that she hasn't exactly gotten over yet, or like even started any form of healing. So it's still really difficult for her to talk about. But it is nice when she helps me, because sometimes I don't know how I want to describe it or where I want to take it with my character. Sometimes I'm just blank, like I have no idea. And I like that, like she'll kind of help me and give me an idea of what direction I should go. But I also like being creative about how I want it to go. Like I have this idea on my story, which I can't say out loud right now because we don't know. And it's still like, it's not a solid plan or anything, but it's a very intriguing one, and I look forward to when it's discovered. And I know the seer is too, because me and her were actually discussing it the other day, and we're both kind of excited about what we're gonna do with it. And she thought my idea was a really great idea because it's just kind of out there a little bit. But she's still kind of helping me with like the ideas on it, but for like the initial reasoning behind the forest fire and everything, like I came up with that main general idea, and so we're just gonna go from there and kind of work out the details on it. So it is nice when she does help me.
Very cool.
I like it when she helps too, because like sometimes it's not even a text or anything. Sometimes it's just like mid story something happens and it's like, oh, that means, you know, something to Chevy. Like for example, Kilara, you know, sending the letter and then several knowing, you know, what it was, just threw it on Chevy's bed, and then I read it, right? And spoiler alert, Chevy's actually written a letter back. Physically, like I have a letter with me that I could read. We'll get to that maybe soon. But yeah, so that helps you, like those events kind of help you think about like, so how does Chevy respond to that letter? What does Chevy's handwriting look like? What is, you know, what would Chevy say back to Kilara in that, and what would he say about Cyril, even though, you know, he asked, or she asked. She didn't necessarily want to know, or you know, she wanted to keep you know, keep it kind of a secret that she had even written. So yeah, those kinds of things make you think about like, okay, what is Chevy's character? What is how would he respond to that kind of situation? And more than just a backstory, but more of a personality kind of thing. So yeah, those kind of on the spot moments really do help you define the character as well.
Yeah. So we as party members, we've got tons of cash, like tons of gold, right, or platinum, or whichever one it is in this world, right? And there's obviously things that are going on in the background, like much like you said, you have a letter that you've written and stuff like that. So there's cool things that go on behind the story that I don't know that will ever make. I think your letter will make the show, right? But there are things that go on, like Barnabas was. He made it a point that he would mail stuff home, and he would make a point to talk about it on the show, so that way that you know, made it into its you know, backstory, which is then we turned and used how we found him, because I was like, man, he's always mailing stuff home because whatever. So we went to the post, and you know, I scared the guy into giving us the information. But I mean, that's true. He's not a horse. But yeah, there's cool things that each one of us kind of like weave into our storytelling that allows us to reach back on or connect to. So going back to that moment, right? So when I picked the letter up out of the mailbox, Danielle said, you know, you obviously clearly recognize the handwriting. And in my mind, I'm picturing several holding a letter with your name written in my daughter's handwriting. And like, the first thing that comes to his mind is clearly
it's an affair.
Yeah, no. Clearly, she knows that you're traveling with me. And she would rather write you than me. right? And so that's immediately where his mind goes. And so he takes that letter and he throws it on the bed. And it's just this big, long narrative we're telling with this, you know, trauma between her and I, of the stuff that has happened. And it's very interesting now that there's someone else kind of wrapped into this narrative, that Several is very jealous of the fact that she's writing you and she's not writing him, because he has a series of letters he's written her and she's just not replied. And so it's like, right? You've not even written her and she writes you, right? So it just struck that nerve, and that's why it was just like, but no one at the table knows that. Like, I tell Danielle, like, I'm writing this letter, I'm sending it, whatever, or I'm doing whatever, and then she logs it for whatever. There was a point where we found a bunch of letters, and, you know, I was just like, ugh, you know? And it's just that little moments that if you don't give light to, like in stuff like this, or if you don't talk about it on the show, then no one knows that it exists until like way later down the road, and you're like, oh, by the way, here's a casket full of letters that I've written you that you never wrote back on. Right?
Can't stress enough how much more impactful your story is when you communicate with your DM. Right?
No.
Like, yeah. Like this game, not this game, but any tabletop role-playing game works so much better when you over-communicate with your DM.
Oh, yeah.
Because they are uber invested in the story, right? It's their world.
Yeah.
If you want something to happen, if you want, like, you know, something with your character to happen, send your DM a text, because more than likely they'll run with it.
Yeah.
Any good DM will, at least. Or they'll tell you, hold that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, and it goes right back to that collaborative storytelling, right? Because they're telling a story, but they also want, it's how much easier is it for me to develop a story when you've already done a huge chunk of the legwork and you're already invested. So if I start leaving breadcrumbs that we're heading down a trail that is what you've texted me about, you're going to be like, ooh, yeah.
My most memorable parts of the home game that we run is not the pre-written adventure, or not the like just random modules that I throw together, but the number one thing I can tell you is that Bill wrote me a message with a pretty intricate backstory, actually, from what I expected out of him, being, you know, a first-time player. And I took that and knew that at some point you guys would have to leave Baldur's Gate and you'd have to get somewhere, and I ran with that and wove his backstory into like where you guys were traveling. And I think that was probably one of the most fun moments, just because it wasn't something that was forced upon you guys. It was something that, like, this ties in directly to like something that you care about, right? So yeah, to me, those are always the most memorable moments of a campaign, is like when the characters are actually invested in what's going on because it relates to them. And again, that only happens because you communicate with your DM.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
I played in it was actually a Call of Cthulhu game, and it was very interesting because the DM was we gave a real quick like paragraph backstory into, you know, who we were or whatever, and turned it in, and every player had something, now because it was made that way, but every player had something that was called back upon into their backstory as we went through the story. And I remember specifically at the end when we were wrapping up, I was just like, man, that was so good. And there were moments where you were like, I couldn't tell if the person who was role-playing the character was like, the GM reached out to them and said, hey, this is what I want to do with your character, and this is how I want it to go, or whatever. Or if that person was just like, hey, this is how I want my character to go, and this is how I'm interested. And then the DM kind of just morphed the story into whatever that was. And those moments to me are priceless, because you can't tell whether the story was led to take you there or you led the story there. And you can't, those moments are when like you're like, oh, the whole world, like all the stars align, and you can just tell that the whole table's in sync, and you can't tell whether the DM took you there or you took the story there. Those are awesome. I love it. So I guess we're wrapping up. We got about 20 minutes, and I want to talk about as we're wrapping up here. The idea. Welcome.
Trying to get comfy, so.
Dang. Okay.
Burt Reynolds over here.
I'm just saying. So let's talk about character death. We've talked about it a little, right? And this is kind of the touchy subject at the table. It always is. And we're going to end our little kind of brainstorming session, little podcasty feel, with your guys' thoughts on character death and when it's appropriate to bring either someone else in to fill the role, or allow the character who has his character died to bring someone else back to the table, to respect the idea that that character is gone. Like, if you think about it as a traveling group of people, right? If the United Souls, when we're fighting and Chevy goes out and we lose him next combat, he dies, would we as a group really, 20 minutes later, be like, oh, cool, we're looking for someone else. Hey, you're in.
The grieving group of people that we've, fought months with.
Yeah. So what does that look like, right? Because in this warped time world that we live in, right, where we play these games, obviously we play every week. And that's a luxury that we have to play. But time doesn't pass like that in the world, right? So we'll pick right back up drowning where we left off last episode. Yeah. And if Chevy would have died last episode, we'd pick right back up drowning. And I assume that Nate would have some kind of new character and we would pick him up on the way, at least soon, right? I don't know, maybe not. That's what I wanted to talk about. That idea of replacing someone after their character dies. What does that look like? How do you guys like that?
Yeah.
Or not?
I think for a personal game, it makes sense because, again, it's about the player experience, right? Mm-hmm. You want, for example, Willem dies because he steps on a trap. You want him to still be able to play the game, right?
Right.
You want that person to be able to have a role at the table. I think when you're looking for a more production value kind of environment like this, it doesn't make sense narratively to just boom immediately fill that gap. There's got to be some room to grieve, because realistically those characters are going to grieve, not because Chevy died, but maybe if it was Ernela, because she's a cute little goblin, she'd be grieved, right? So so I don't know if that means like Chevy sits out for a week, or maybe that means that there's an NPC in town that Chevy could temporarily be that NPC. Nate could be that NPC. He's going to join the group just for this like real quick battle, and then you never see that guy again. And then maybe there's a couple of those roles where you're filled in for a bit and allow the group to have processing time, and then maybe eventually a permanent character comes in. I think it's important for the characters to have their moments to grieve, just like Ernela did. Was that last week? That was last week. Because otherwise, it feels off narratively if like you've built those connections and then something is just like you're moving on instantly.
Right.
It feels dishonest almost. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was gonna talk about that moment, because because of the intricate situation with Esteban and the fact that we won't remember him, right? A lot of that is like Silver was heartbroken, but at the same time, he's like,
you're instantly over it because you can't remember it.
yeah, like it's like I'm even in the moment, like he's like, okay, I'm not going to remember this guy tomorrow. You know what I mean? And I let a lot of that mentality kind of skew my original like outlook on the situation. But it was very impactful when Ernela was like, no, like, what are we doing? You know? Because I think that's absolutely correct. Like, we've traveled with Esteban for a long time, and losing him would be catastrophic to the group, to the person, like to me, and even if I only had 24 hours to grieve him, that's his 24 hours. He deserves those. You know what I mean? And so it's an interesting thing with him specifically because of his curse, that you wake up tomorrow and you're like, all right, here we go. But for other people, like how do you feel about it? Like if Sivril were to die, I know that would make your day, but if Sivril were to die and I were to create a new character that was brand new, what's that timeline look like where you would feel okay with letting someone into the group? Like, I'm not saying I would come back with a fighter, tank guy to try to replace Sivril, but what if, as a player, what's that acceptable timeline where the United Souls would be looking for someone to fill that spot?
I think it also kind of depends on the character. For Avery having this sibling type like relationship, she would take it pretty hard. She would probably need a while, especially considering Sivril's kind of one of the first people to make her feel safe, just because of how protective he is, and like the whole scene in the cave where the whole shit show happened, and then he came out as the vampire. It sticks out in her mind, in her memories, and like it means a lot, like, because Avery was alone for a while until she stumbled across him, and the way, like she and Sivril, like, they pick on each other and blah blah blah, but like they obviously care about each other, otherwise why would you keep someone in your party if you can't stand them and like it's just causing issues? So I feel like after, like, Avery would tolerate someone immediately coming in, but she wouldn't like it. She would be very distrusting. Like, she was very doubtful of Chevy at first, just because, especially the way it looked, like him coming from Charlotte. Like, it's like, but since like you were saying that like he was with you, and like Avery trusts you, so she trusted your judgment into trusting Chevy. And I think that's kind of how the rest of the party kind of went about that as well. And like how here he is today with an actual icon like around his neck and everything, like at this point.
Chevy also wasn't introduced because of a character death, though, right? Chevy was introduced because Squirrel and Barnabas had to go take care of something else, so they still exist in the world. Yeah,
so like not everybody has to die to like.
Right. So there's an obvious difference, right, with Barnabas and Squirrel moving out and us picking other people up. It's a whole different interaction, because you're like, I may go see Barnabas again, which we clearly did. We may find Squirrel again, and that kind of stuff. But the idea, like, I just kind of had that question, like, well, what if Sivril were to die, like, or what if Esteban were to be gone forever?
So
right?
Let me ask you this: what did you guys do when Lenny died?
So when Lenny died, we had a couple series of episodes that were really just us grieving him being gone. And then obviously we, while hurting, shifted gears to like, okay, the rest of the world isn't grieving. We have to figure things out, right? And the thing with that is like, it kind of goes back to that moment where I was sitting with Ernela and I pull the sunglasses out. I'm telling her the story of Lenny, and like I don't know that the grieving is even done with Cyril and Lenny, or with Sunshine and Lenny, or with, you know, everyone else and Lenny. And it's like, but at the same time, because you have that like heroic responsibility, you just take that and go whoop, and compartmentalize it and be like, okay, well, I'll come back to it when I find it relevant, or, you know, in those moments. And I think that's very powerful, because it allows me as a player to connect right back to that emotion of losing him, right? Because I haven't closed that deal, and I haven't grieved, and I haven't moved on, and I haven't, you know, done that recovery. But so when I'm telling her about Lenny, I can easily open that box and connect right back down to it and be like, damn, all that emotion is right there. And it feels very real, and it feels very relevant, because in reality, yeah, you know, we've had some time pass, but it's not been like 7 years, 10 years. You know, it would be like losing your best friend, you know, a year ago, and what that does to someone. But yeah, that's kind of what we did. Was like, we had a couple episodes where we were, you know, took him back to the town, and we, he had a soulstone necklace, and he wasn't an elf, but he had one, and I put it on the tree and it lit, and then moved away, and like that kind of thing. Like it was a whole ordeal. It was a big deal. But yeah, it was just an interesting question, like, because I was thinking more of like, and it was probably 3 or 4 weeks before we found Esteban. Like,
Esteban was with us.
huh?
Esteban was with us.
When he died? Was he?
Yeah.
You don't remember because there was 24
Yeah.
hours
Yeah.
apart, so you
Yeah.
just, you couldn't place where he was in the timeline.
I couldn't remember.
We came off of the haunted house.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
So we had 6 at the table,
Yeah.
and then with Lenny's unfortunate passing, we ended up with 5.
Okay. So we had to, like, we never actually, I guess, replaced him, because I thought we had picked up Esteban afterwards. But yeah, so we never actually replaced him at that moment.
Sure.
But
Esteban replaced him when he used the Manual Ballad and turned into a bard
yeah,
instead of a druid.
right. And that was months later though, like in game, right?
I can't imagine Esteban as a druid. Esteban's just always a bard in my head.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
like,
literally
he's-
just learned how to play instruments just to sleep with people, is my theory. But,
Yeah.
you know, whatever.
Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I picture it.
Anyway, here's Wonderwall. Yeah, I love it. Okay. So Jess, what do you think? Like, I know you talked, you said that you would be kind of like heartbroken and you would not trust whoever it is. But
Not at first.
so think of it like outside of Avery. So like as a player, so let's say Avery dies, okay? And Seer gets with you and says, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to make another character? Do you want to keep playing? And you're like, yeah, I'd love to keep playing. I'd love to come back and play something else, right? Would you, as a player, would you rather hear her say, okay, hey, yeah, get your character together and we'll see you next week and we'll plug you in? Or would you rather hear her say, hey, let's let's push it out like 3 weeks and give everybody the time to like get over or have a moment where Avery can shine, as everyone is remembering her, versus just like, okay, you have a flash in the pan of everyone grieving Avery and then surprise, this is Candace, her best friend,
Here to avenge her death.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, she could just start playing as Zara.
I mean, yeah, true.
Avery.
I feel like I'd like to have that gap, and it's not even for well, kinda, but like it's mostly just because like sometimes I like to have that break, just because especially during winter I go through burnout so
Sure.
bad and I get depressed, and like during that time I could just let myself rest, and then when I come back like it'll make Avery's death feel like more concrete, I guess, if like my presence isn't felt here at the table for those 3 weeks. It's like she's really not here, because that would feel different versus if I'm here but as a different character. It's like it feels definitely more real. So I feel like I would go that route or talk to Seer about going that route, even if it's not even for that long, like a week, 2 weeks.
Yeah. And you make a good point, like your physical presence at the table would be impacted, right? So if Several dies and I'm gonna play something else, but there's 2 weeks or 3 weeks that I'm not at the table, that would be, very stark, like, oh, there's a seat that's empty that someone should be in, and the party is not whole, right? Yeah, I
think we even put like an 8x10 in loving memory, like
yes.
at your seat.
Yeah,
That'd be
just leave your mic in your chair,
Yeah.
no, don't even touch them, just leave the setup.
Yep.
Yep.
Man, that's a powerful image, isn't it? Like when you think about it.
And then as we come in, we're looking at the empty chair.
Yeah.
And it kind of just really sets it in stone in our minds.
Right.
Like, that actually happened. He's not here. We lost this character.
Yep.
It definitely makes it feel more emotional.
Yeah. Yeah. The very beginning of the series of Soul Severed was we picked up in the middle of a story. Like we had played some before off camera, just trying to get some stuff developed, and in the off camera sessions is when Several was turned into a vampire. So I started the campaign as a vampire, but the campaign actually started with the party grieving my death because I had gotten trapped in that cave that I met Charlotte in, and then everyone else escaped, but the rocks all fell down and trapped me inside the cave. Yeah, and Jenny's original character, Callie, running off to the rift, being called away. So the whole story started with the party grieving my death and Jenny's character being called away to the rift because of this, thing that is going on. And then they're in the bar, and someone starts playing some kind of like song that is kind of contrary to elves, and they go to have a big bar fight because they're tired of listening to the guy sing. And I come down the stairs and join the table as Several because I'm obviously now undead and a vampire. And everyone was shocked. Like I had the whole group was convinced that Several was dead, and I was bringing B-Rock in to be my character to play. We had folders at that time instead of the tablets, and I had a folder sitting on the table that said B-Rock on it, and everyone just kind of like filtered in. They're like, oh, okay, he's gonna be B-Rock. And I come down and I was Several, and everyone was like, what is going on?
Slick.
Yeah.
You put that folder there to throw people off.
It was one of, I was in on it because I was also starting.
That's totally bitch ass Several move.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It fits.
This is where I picked up Sunshine. I actually found Several before the party did.
Yeah. She found me by a tree. And actually, so like if you look in that shelf over there in the bottom right, there's a white shirt and some clothes that are down there. That's what I was wearing as Cyril at the beginning of the campaign. I actually went out and bought a second set of those clothes, and I put those down in that shelf. And so they were there, the clothes were there, and
To trick everybody.
yeah, and the folder said B-Rock, and everyone was set. Like, if you go back and watch it, Turby, Dominic, who plays, when I come in the door and I say, he's like, oh, it's my best friend B-Rock. And she goes, actually, no, that's not. And because everyone was ready for me to come in as B-Rock. And it was pretty good. It was legit.
I'll have to remember that one for when Chevy wakes up as a vampire one day.
Right? When I bite him, right?
I was thinking
Well, I'm just sitting here
Charlotte.
thinking like you just consented to being a vampire for
No.
him, and it's on recording. So good luck.
I figured Charlotte would try it eventually.
I mean, she almost made it out with Sunshine.
Yeah.
Jeez, oh Pete.
I don't think she was gonna turn me. I think she was gonna eat me.
Well, I don't know. I'm not convinced on that.
I definitely think she would turn on Sunshine just to use it against Cyril and command you guys to never
see each other. That's terrible.
Terrible.
Well, we are reaching 9 o'clock, and I know tonight has been a little different, and I thought it's been a really good. We had a really good discussion. I thought we talked about a lot of really cool things. First of all, I'm going to thank Nate and Jess for being well enough to have our little podcasty session here.
Well enough for right now. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever's
Jenny's
going
over
on.
there breathing and getting her germs everywhere.
Right.
So we'll see how this goes.
Right.
Slow and camera.
I told Nate when
There
we
it
were building the table. Which by the way,
Hey, do we want to get a top down?
yeah. Let me move all this other
Cheeks?
crap and
I'll help you.
In the previous story,
hold on.
Oh, that's like vinyl stuck down. For those that didn't see it yesterday.
Yeah, for those who didn't see it yesterday, here you go. We have updated the table.
Yep. No more tablecloths. This is black paint, painted logo.
Yeah.
Here's the top down view. We're gonna do some touch-ups tomorrow. Take care of that black smudge that's on the E, and give it one more coat of black, and then over the next couple days do some clear coats so it will never get damaged again.
Right?
Yeah, there's a little red smudges over there from the kids
Yeah.
trying to help with a red paintbrush,
Yeah.
or a red painted paintbrush, thinking that was going to help. So, not salty about that at all.
No, not at all. Well, at least
Brand
you
new
didn't,
table.
yeah, at least you didn't, break the edge of the table off.
Yeah.
But again, all of this stuff that we have is because of you guys, right? So we're telling awesome stories, and we're trying to pull you guys into this community. We can't thank you enough for everything that we do. None of this would be possible without you guys listening, you guys liking all of our content, sharing everything. Again, we have all those shorts coming out on all those platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you would go to those places and like those as they come out, I would be eternally grateful as it starts to push the algorithm and let the algorithm know that you like our content, and it'll start pressing to other people. We are slowly but surely expanding our footprint into the world of TTRPGs and live plays, and we want to be on the top with some of the best, right? We want to bring you content that not only that we are proud of, that you are proud of being a fan of. And we want you to be just as invested to the stories that we're telling as we are. This is just as much our story as it is your story, and we are glad that you are part of it. So, from the three of us that are, so from the two of us that are well and the two of us that are halvesies, again, thank you so much for being here this evening, and we will catch you next time. We'll see you next Tuesday. Goodbye, everybody.
Which one of us was well?
Which
Us-
one was what?
us
Like
two
you
were-
two were well.
Yeah. He was sick yesterday.
I'm still kind of like halvesies, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I
That's
thought
why
you
you
were
didn't-
trying to slide another burn in there and be like, yeah, she looks sick. So.
No, I almost said, I was gonna say, I was talking to Nate about the name of this podcast from, the 18 to 2, or 20 to 2,
20
or
to
whatever
2,
it was. Yeah, 20 to 2, because that's how all the dice roll, right?
Yep.
You see the 20 and it falls to the 2. Yeah, 100%.
Your rating.
Let's go.
Yeah, we kept a viewer count there.
Yeah, that was really good.
Pretty good for a podcast type
Yep.
episode. Maybe future podcast.
Maybe future podcast. Put some comments down below.